Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm your host. And joining me this week, we have a very special guest, the one and only Kyle Bosman from the Easy Allies. Kyle, how's it going, pal?
Hey, everybody. Oh, it's going okay. Capital O, capital K.
I like that. That's good. That's good. So this week, we got a lot to talk about. And for anybody who's new here for the first time, we talk about movies, games, TV shows, anything we truly love. And we're going to start talking about, maybe Thor a little bit later on, or Hulk, as you can see here. But we got to talk about some news first, because we've had some interesting things happen, and I want to get into it just a little bit. So the very first thing, it's just a little story, well, maybe depending on how I feel about it. But the Dark Universe, the Mummy, all that stuff is in trouble. A lot of the producers have now exited and gone on to potentially bigger and better things, and it seems like that is completely stalling out. Now, Kyle, I know you're not necessarily maybe the biggest fan of these monster movies, but does this surprise you? Are you concerned? Did you see The Mummy at all? Were you excited about it?
No, but someone who I trust, Don Casanova, saw The Mummy, and he gave it a thumbs up. He said it's not a great movie, but it's still a thumbs up. It was fun. This, to me, though, is just such a poor idea from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think everyone knew that.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where they kind of looked at the Marvel formula, and they said, hey, let's get a bunch of really famous actors together, put them in a room, take some pictures, and say, you're going to be the Invisible Man, you're going to be the Bride of Frankenstein. People are going to get really excited about it. And then The Mummy just kind of didn't do very well, and I don't think a lot of people expected it to do super well. I was hopeful, but it was kind of a flop. And then they kind of put The Bride of Frankenstein was the next one on their list with Angelina Jolie, and now that was put on hold. And there's this whole thing, and it's but now it looks like they're moving off. Alex Kurtzman is going back to CBS, while Morgan, the other Chris Morgan, he's going to go work for Fast and Furious franchise, which seems like a franchise that just keeps making money, and working on the spin-off starring Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham. But I guess my question for you is, do you think there's any potential, for this to even come back in any way now that everybody's kind of abandoning ship?
I think they went about it the wrong way. You know what I mean? I think they were making action movies when there is a fun idea. It does sound fun for all the horror monster movies to kind of coincide in the same universe. But you got to let them be who they are. You want a swamp monster to just be in a swamp monster movie. That's not an action movie, but a horror movie, I think, is the idea. And so the idea of taking a genre, the horror genre, the monster movies, and saying, there's our action movies now, and this will work because Marvel movies work. That was dumb. That was dumb from the beginning, and I think everybody knew it.
Yeah, no, I think you make a really good point there. And it is unfortunate, because I think there are moments, if you ever do watch The Mummy, there are moments where it wants to be a horror movie. And I think if given the license, or maybe even an R rating, it potentially could have been a creepy, kind of interesting film, but they just tried to make it too action PG-13 oriented, and it just didn't play very well. Especially they tried to introduce Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and he was kind of running a SHIELD organization basically in The Mummy to kind of police the world for monsters and stuff. And it was just this whole hey, there's this universe, aren't you excited about it? And it's not really. So yeah, either way, I don't think it's gonna continue, and it's probably maybe for the best. So we'll wait 10 years until they decide to try to do it again. But I like those old Mummy movies, with Brendan Fraser. Those were just fun. Those movies didn't try to be anything more than they were. Those just stupid B-C movie, we're just gonna shoot some mummies and scream a bunch and run around. So yeah, no love lost there. But so some other things I want to talk about too here. Assassin's Creed. Now I know that a lot of people kind of are split on Assassin's Creed, but Ubisoft just talked about this in an investors call, saying that they're selling roughly double compared to the last game that came out, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, with Origins right now. I kind of wanted your take on not necessarily that game specifically, but single-player games in general, because Yves Guillemot said recently that single-player games can still sell. There's a lot of RPG elements they're putting into them to kind of increase replayability or longevity. And I wanted to know what your thoughts were, not necessarily just on this franchise, but just on single-player games, and how we're moving now from kind of more to a games as a service, as they call it, but games that are, you want to keep coming back. There's more friends to play with. It's not like you play it, you're done with it, move on. What do you think?
Yeah. So I think we frequently forget how well Skyrim sold, you know? And Skyrim did crazy, and that really was a single player game. And people can say, well, like it did really well on PC because of mods and things like that, but not on consoles, and it sold very well on consoles. And so this idea of making Assassin's Creed more RPG like, I think is really good. I think it's kind of surprising there more people didn't try Skyrim. I guess because a game like an Elder Scrolls is just too huge to even try to emulate. But it's still surprising to me. It's I don't know how word of mouth spreads that fast. I don't know how like your enthusiasm doubles from Syndicate to Origins. I think that's crazy, and that's a huge success. Whether it's a marketing success, like maybe just they did a way better job marketing this one, or maybe just people really did need a year off and they really did love the franchise all along. It's cool. It's really, really cool. They're making a sequel. You know what I mean? It's not been announced, but we know now there will be another Assassin's Creed, and that will probably also be single player. That's encouraging. You're right. It is cool to see something like that.
Yeah, and I wonder a lot if it's more so like that Unity did so poorly and then sales went way down for when Syndicate came out, and then they took the year off, and then they're just like, hey, like, you know, comparatively to Syndicate, which maybe didn't perform as well as they had hoped for it, then Origins comes out, you know, 2 years later, and they're like, okay, last year we had the Assassin's Creed movie, which people were like, this isn't like the same, this isn't, you know, we don't really want this, and maybe that helps it as well because Unity performed so poorly, or maybe made Syndicate not perform as well. Maybe that's the reason they're saying like the doubling number or whatever too. And a lot of it I think has to do with kind of the change up to the combat, which I'm not going to say is perfect, but that and the setting, I think this is one of the two that are probably the most requested settings of all time. I know that I was really excited about it, and kind of going, I think backwards was a smart idea, even though I missed the grappling hook because every game should have a grappling hook. But I think Egypt was a good move. And now with was it Ghosts of Tsushima?
Yeah.
That game kind of getting to like the feudal Japan stuff. I wouldn't be surprised to see Assassin's Creed finally try to tackle Japan now with the next iteration.
Yeah.
No, that would be. Do you think that's a possibility for them?
It's one I feel like you're right. I feel like they've toyed with that since the second game.
Yeah.
Where everyone's just like, oh, you should do this. And they're like, well, maybe eventually. Yeah. I'm going to say there are 2 more games before they go to Japan.
Okay. Do you have any idea what those 2 more games are?
I really feel like they're saving it. Russia would be cool, but they did Russia in one of the 2D games, didn't they?
Yeah, well, Russia, China, and India. But I still think Russia. I thought when they showed that at first, I was like, Russia's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
But they didn't. Yeah, I think Russia's a good idea too. That would be cool.
I would really like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to I want to be up on those churches.
Yeah, definitely, like in Red Square or whatever. Those weird. Yeah, that'd be. Oh, dude, that's so cool. I was also thinking, do you think they'd ever try to tackle something? Not that it's really in the Viking way, but do you think they'd ever try to hit up like a Norse kind of thing, like God of War's going there? Do you think they'd be like, hey, like you're an assassin in the north? Like, I don't know, maybe.
Let's do it.
Yeah, maybe try to attack like that Game of Thrones group a little bit more. So I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm not familiar. Maybe. But yeah. I think they're gonna try to work out this combat first, because I think if they're gonna do one in Japan, I think it's gonna be a heavy emphasis on both. Kind of like it'll be like you can either be the ninja or the samurai, and if you want to be the samurai, the sword combat's gonna have to be like pretty good. Otherwise, people are gonna be like, this doesn't feel.
Samurai aren't assassins though. That's not in like.
Exactly, and that's the weird thing, because in like Assassin's Creed, Origins, we have like skill trees where it's like you can be the hunter or the warrior. So it's like you can pick like the Michael Huber warrior tree if you want to, and just go bash your way through everybody. Or
and he did,
yeah, exactly, and you could totally do that now. And I think that's one of the things Guillermo was talking about. He's like, well, if you want to play it the warrior way one time, go for it. If you want to come back and play it through the hunter way or whatever, the predator way, do it that way. But it does kind of seem to go against what the name of the game is. So I don't know, but you do make a great point. I don't know if they would make him, like, if you are a samurai, that might be some sort of like in between, probably more ninja, I would think. But yeah, I would love to see feudal Japan, and I think that's one of the places that's kind of untapped potential for them going forward. But just stop, man. They keep doing the modern day stuff, and they're not going to let that thing die. They won't let it go. It's like, just let it go.
It is funny. They think that's an essential part of it. Maybe they're right. But it's also really surprising to me just how effective experience points and upgrading loot is.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, it is weird.
I think just our dumb human brains just enjoy it. I think we just like that stuff.
Yeah, well, it's weird now too. I remember thinking back to like World of Warcraft and how like I don't know if they're the ones who started this, but like the color scheme or Diablo kind of having like blues and greens and oranges and purples and stuff. And now when I see that in the game, I like my brain automatically knows like purple's a good color to have. I like to have the purple objects, because they're better than the blue objects. And it's like weird how my brain is now into that. It's like every game has that, like the same kind of color scheme from like common to like epic or exotic, like Destiny has, which always makes me think of like a tropical locale. I'm like, oh, this is like a fancy gun I'd have on the beach. But yeah, no, that's totally right, man. And I think that the drop or the coins and the kind of the shininess of new loot is really appealing to a lot of people. So does that work for you at all? Do you play any games that have that in it?
Yeah. I mean, Horizon kind of did a lot of that kind of thing. A lot of loot, a lot of things to pick up, and a lot of it's just, fabrics and crafting materials on the inside. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't like it very much. I prefer a Zelda style thing, but it's all good.
Yeah.
It works.
Are you picking up Frozen Wilds, by the way, the DLC for Horizon?
No. Here's why. They tricked me.
Oh no.
They showed the end game armor when they first like revealed it in a cutscene. She's wearing like the secret armor that you get for doing everything. And so I assumed it was post game. I said, oh, if you have that armor, it must be post game. It's not. It is just takes place in the middle of the story. And so I've seen the conclusion. I went through everything and uncovered all the mysteries and all that. And so that's my drive for the game. And so to like see like a side story that was clearly inconsequential is interesting to me, especially if it's huge. And it is, it's like 15 hours. It's like, I'm okay. I'm all right.
Sure. Yeah. I know a lot of people have been asking me to get it because I really enjoyed Horizon and I thought it was a really cool game. There are a few things in there I think they could improve, and I'm excited to see where that company goes. But for someone to make like Killzone and then bring this to the table and be like, hey, this is our new IP, and it's like, wow, like good job, guys. Like this is good first stab. But it's been a big year of third-person action games where I jump around in slow motion with a bow. So it's just like, and that was kind of the first one for me this year, and I really enjoyed it. So I might go back, but you're right. If it is inconsequential, I guess I'd be going more for the ride than for the story, which I didn't really think Horizon's story was super compelling. I thought it was okay. Did you like it?
Yeah, big time. Because here's what I like. I like the Zero Dawn aspect. I like the sci-fi element. I didn't care much for the warring tribes, you know what I mean? I didn't care much about that, but just the way you uncover mysteries in that game is something that I got really into.
Okay.
How'd we get here? And it was actually more interesting than most how'd we get here's. And so that's what I dug. I really, really dug that part of it. And yeah, that's why they're introducing like a new tribe or something like that. I don't care. Yeah. It is more story, but it's the part of the story I didn't care about.
Sure. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, now that they kind of let the genie out of the bottle as far as how that world works and how it was made, do you think making a sequel, which this is going to be a tentpole franchise for Sony now, how do you make that story compelling still?
Ooh, I don't want to get in too much because it's super endgame spoilers, but I will say that I feel confident with how they propped themselves up.
Okay.
I think they've given themselves an opportunity to tell many stories going forward with what's happening going forward.
Sure. And I think also from a design aspect, there is infinite amount of creatures they can make. They don't have to necessarily be tied down to the animals they've already made. They can make anything really, and it's all gravy to me. I'm like, this is really cool. This kind of looks like a super tiger, but like they could make something that's got wings and is the super tiger, like that. It's like,
oh yeah, I mean Frozen Wilds has some cool, like that wolf thing. That's like they have some cool stuff in there.
Yeah, I think I saw that. That does look really cool. Well, I was like looking at that and I thought at first that it was going to be like DLC that was just like it makes everything snowy, and I was like, I already see. I've seen snow environments in that game, so it wasn't like I missed out on that environment. And that's one great thing about that game is I didn't think it would have that many like diverse locations, but it totally does. And when they kind of introduced this, I was like, okay, I kind of I've been up on like mountains and stuff, but okay, cool. Like, so yeah, I'm interested in checking it out, but I might need to do a little more research first. But yeah, good game.
Sure.
Yeah. I hope, by the way, it does not get buried. And this isn't just for you guys, but just in general, I hope it doesn't get too buried in Goaty Talks. Like, I hope somebody brings up Horizon. Someone's like, hey, remember that game? Like, this kind of brand new IP. I'm like, yeah, get Horizon. I like that. I hope it sticks around. So,
yeah. In terms of Goaty debates, I think it's going to get just smashed by Zelda every time.
Yeah, that was the saddest thing about how Zelda for me got like pushed to where it finally did, because I remember being so excited for Horizon and thinking like, oh man, this
Yeah.
is a great time for this studio to come out and shine and all this, and then like a month or two later, Zelda comes out and it's just like just that timing is just
Yeah.
so rough.
I mean, and that's what's weird about Goaty Talks is that like they're both great, you know what I mean? And
Oh
so
yeah.
we're forced to rank one above the other. In the meantime, like those are just two really great games on their own.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also, I'm really excited because you look at these types of games, which are becoming more and more prolific, and you say, like, hey, what can Horizon learn from Zelda? How about the climbing mechanics? Let's talk about that for a bit. You know what I mean? Like, they could be like,
Yeah.
hey, next game, let's give Aloy, like, a grapple and a rope, or just be able to climb anything that isn't, like, an Uncharted yellow pipe or something like that. Just let her go wherever she wants. So, yeah, fingers are crossed for Horizon. Anyway, there's a tributary on this river that we call a conversation. I couldn't help myself. The Horizon, I just like that game. All right, last big piece of news, Kyle. The one that I really want to talk about with you. There have been talks, and they've apparently stalled recently, but there's a chance that they could start up again, that Walt Disney might be buying up a significant portion of Fox. Now,
Yeah.
this doesn't mean they're going to take over their broadcasting or their sports or their business stuff, because there's like some non-completes or stuff like that where they can't really do that, and Disney can't own two broadcasting companies. It gets kind of weird. But it mostly means a lot for Star Wars and, more importantly, Marvel. So, we're not sure this is even going to happen. We're just spitballing here, but we've seen crazy stuff in the past happen, like with Sony and Spider-Man. So there's always the chance that a deal could be struck. The question for you that I have: what would you be most excited about seeing come into the MCU? Because that's what everybody's talking about. Like, who could come to the MCU?
All right. I mean, the X-Men.
Yeah.
The X-Men. And I mean, just what's fun about that is it'd be an opportunity to just refresh the X-Men in a way that's like all of that weird baggage from Fox's X-Men movies, some of which are great, but it would all disappear and Wolverine could wear yellow and blue, like
Yeah.
have like a really cool looking X-Men, a really fun looking, like just spirit of the original X-Men, which would be just so fun.
Yeah, definitely. And they got really close with like his brown and yellow suit at the end of the Wolverine. It was like this close to happening, and they just can't. They're like, we're not going to do it.
Which they shouldn't have to, I guess, which is fair. Yeah. At that point, it was too late.
Yeah. Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's totally fine. I was gonna say, you said you as far as the X-Men films goes, did you have like a favorite or one or two that you actually really enjoy?
Logan.
Logan. Okay.
Yeah. That's my absolute favorite.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
So one of my favorite superhero movies, to be honest with you. Just
really,
really cool. Yeah.
Cool.
But I mean, Logan is very funny in that it couldn't exist without like 5 X-Men movies in front of it. Yep. It's meaningful in that context of like, this is the end of those, it's really cool in that way.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, kind of taking a superhero and really, I think, fully realizing who they are, not necessarily who everybody else is in that film, but like saying like, this is Wolverine, like unhindered in any way. Here he is, like, which I think is really cool. I wish we could get more of that, but unfortunately it's not as marketable unless you make 5 films beforehand that are like, hey, here's Wolverine for PG-13. And it's like those kids grow up with them, and then it's like, all right, now he's R-rated. Good. Congratulations. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, so Logan. And is there any like X-Men, like First Class, 2, 3, any of those that you like stood out to you as like one of your favorites besides just the grittiness of Logan?
Yeah, I think First Class, that's like the first one. Yes, yeah. First Class is like, that's the reboot after 3, basically. Right?
Yeah, it's like a soft reboot, which is kind of weird.
But yeah, it's still canon to the rest of the stuff that's going on. Yeah, I like that movie a lot. That's a fun one.
Yeah, that one's just that's like kind of easy going and just kind of like, it's got that 1960s vibe. I love like a good period piece and like kind of the focus on Magneto and stuff. I wanted that Magneto film. They were talking about doing that for a while after X-Men Origins Wolverine bombed. They were going to do one for, I think, Storm and Magneto, and so they kind of bled a lot of the Magneto storyline into this one, which I appreciate.
That's interesting. Yeah,
which I love. I like Michael Fassbender a lot. I mean, he's no Ian McKellen, but you do with what you got.
And James McAvoy is his name, right?
Very good. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just great actor. Yeah, just those two are really fun in all their scenes that they had in that movie. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to think that if this all goes down, and depending on where they're going with like the Dark Phoenix, the next X-Men film, like that could potentially be the very last one that they get a chance to be in as those two characters, because it'd be hard to bring them into the new one, especially if you want to tie into the whole like, hey, Magneto might be Scarlet Witch's dad. Are we going to talk about that? Are we not? Like, if they were to do that, it'd be like,
man, yeah, X-Men Apocalypse is like one of the worst that I saw.
How do you botch like a big villain that badly? Like he just sits around. Man, it makes me really frustrated. And, like Magneto's a horseman, and it's just too much, man. I just makes me so angry. Also, the whole Quicksilver thing, that thing works once, everybody, and it was great the first time. But you do it again, and it's like, guys, we've seen this. He is unstoppable. Yet you could knock him out with a sonic cannon. I'm like, come on. You gotta be kidding me. Like, you really, it's just, I don't know. You can't introduce a character like him and just kind of sideline him like they do in Days of Future Past. I like that one too, but that movie, like, you could not watch, I think, Days of Future Past without watching at least the first X-Men. You'd be so confused because it's just like, hey, everybody, look at all this crazy stuff's happening, and there's time manipulation and all that. I don't know. It's a cool movie, but it's weird. Did you like that film at all? Did you see Days of Future Past?
Yeah, I did. I think there was fun stuff in there, but yeah, a weird conclusion for sure.
Yeah.
That's like Magneto with a big metal ball, right? He's like lifting the stadium.
Yes. Okay, I will say this. At that moment, the big Magneto fanboy in me teared up a little because you saw him with the stadium and all the Sentinels, and he's like landing there, and he's like puts it around the White House, and he's gonna kill the president.
Yeah.
Even though he's an idiot, because they're like, hey, don't do this because our future is going to be ruined if you do this. And he's like, I'm going to do it anyway. And it's like, no, like, but yeah, that's that one. Yeah, that's pretty.
I liked Wolverine in that one. There's some cool Wolverine stuff in that movie.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see him and McAvoy and Fassbender be together a little bit. They don't get as much time, but it is cool to see. Hugh Jackman, man, like, and he really, really wanted to be in the MCU. Which makes me really sad that he's like out now, because he talked about being in the Avengers, and he's like, if it's just me, that's fine. I'll just go join the Avengers. Wolverine's a perfect Avenger. Like, just put him in there. And I was like, oh, please. Why can't we have nice things? All right. Well, Wolverine versus Hulk will happen one day, maybe, if Disney does this. Besides that, like Fantastic Four is another thing to put in there. Yeah. Now, for me personally, the Fantastic Four isn't like a super interesting group. They're fine, and they're actually pretty popular, I think, comic-wise. But I think their villains are the things that are the most interesting to me. I'm thinking like Galactus, and more specifically, Doctor Doom. Do you have any attachment to either of those characters?
Galactus is kind of like too big and too powerful.
Yeah.
Right. He just eats planets, right?
Yeah.
Doctor Doom's great. Doctor Doom is so good.
Yeah. He's so good, isn't he? Yeah.
Just like even from like a design standpoint, that's what's insane about the reboot of Fantastic Four, the movie, is just like, just make Doctor Doom look like Doctor Doom, and you have a really compelling villain there.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Did you see that reboot, by the way?
I fell asleep to it on the plane, so I didn't.
Perfect.
I tried watching that movie.
How far did you get through roughly? Do you have like 20 minutes in, 15, 30?
So that one's not they go into space. That one's they go to a different dimension.
Yes, and he falls in like the ooze.
I think I fell asleep like at that point where it's like, oh, they're just in a different dimension. That's weird. All right, and then just zonked out.
Yeah, there's a great moment earlier on where Sue even calls him. She's like, "All right, Doctor Doom," and I'm like, it's like somebody forced like this is the movie. It's happening. Yeah, I don't. That's so sad. But you're totally right. Doctor Doom, I think, is a compelling villain, and I think even though those older Fantastic Four films aren't super great, I liked the performance. I forget that guy's name, but the guy who played him in those ones. Do you remember those movies at all?
Very little.
Okay, he was a little bit better of a doctor. He was much more maniacal, kind of like egotistical.
Yeah, I think I missed those. And even like people said the Silver Surfer one was good, and I didn't see that one either.
Yeah, they're fine. Just go in low expectations, but they're much more fun. They're much more lighthearted than this last one.
Which I think Fantastic Four has to be.
Oh, totally. It's so much like a family film. Like I think of like The Incredibles might be the best version of the Fantastic Four we've ever seen, where it's like a superhero family together, and it's like if they could just make that, like focus on that, that would be much more interesting than what we like the dark, gritty reboots and all this stuff. But you look at the guy who played Human Torch in that one, and now he's the villain in Black Panther, and it's like, all right, so like Marvel, they did the same thing for Chris Evans. They just saved the Human Torch actors. They're like, come over here, it'll be fine. Like, don't worry anymore. But yeah, Doctor Doom's really cool. Also, you know, the MCU doesn't really have a lot of strong villains, and I think that's what could be cool about this merger or this kind of buyout, like with Magneto and Doctor Doom. Do you think that they're kind of hard out for those things?
What do you mean hard out? Oh, hard out for villains? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it gets to a problem where like you introduce one and kill it off in that movie. For a lot of Marvel movies, I guess in that second phase, it's just like, here's a new villain and then that's dead. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't think we're even sad to lose those villains. Yeah, absolutely. Spider-Man has so many good villains.
Oh my God.
And so a lot of those are trapped with Sony, you know what I mean? But yeah, absolutely. I think that they could use more.
And now we talked Spider-Man Homecoming a while ago, which I absolutely loved. And I watched it again recently, thought of you when he said, ouch, my butt. Because comedy gold. And you bring up Spider-Man, and how do you feel about Venom where it stands right now? Tom Hardy is going to be Venom. They're doing a spin-off standalone that's not even maybe connected to Spider-Man. How do you as a Spider-Man fan feel about that?
So what's known about it? What else do we know about it? I do know that it's not connected, that like Spider-Man won't even appear.
Not connected, and also potentially the enemy is Carnage, which is even weirder to me because you introduce a character that seems like Venom, completely based on the powers of Spider-Man, and then do you just make like a suit? Is it like a military experiment gone wrong? There's still not a lot known. We just got like a set photo the other day, but we didn't really see anything. So not a lot's still known, which is unfortunate. It's like
I get why Sony does it in that they'll get all that money as opposed to having to share it with Marvel. And Tom Hardy's such a good actor, and Venom's such a cool character. I don't know. So Venom is a cool character because of his juxtaposition with Spider-Man.
Yes.
He's just like a bigger, stronger Spider-Man that's scary and has nasty teeth. It's weird to think of that working in its own thing. And I realize there's been plenty of Venom comics that have been successful even. So clearly it's something you can pull off. But I just think from like, imagine the trailer.
Yeah.
That's what I think of first is like, how do you sell this movie immediately? And okay, all right, you just have Venom smashing stuff.
Yeah. I think that's what you go for too.
He plays like Hulk, right? He plays like it's our innate desire to just smash stuff and be nasty, and so I guess that's what you would do. Yeah. Like you don't always want to be like the hero who's like nice to everybody. So I think Venom is mean to somebody in the end of the trailer, and then we laugh.
Yeah, I wonder too if there are like if this is going to be more of an origin story or if he's going to already be like doing something and then like the government's going to be like, hey, we have this problem with this Carnage character and we'll expunge your list of horrible crimes if you go and fight this thing for us or whatever. I just don't know. It seems sad that they're doing this to that character because I too love that character a lot and I would love to see him and Spider-Man together in a better way than Spider-Man 3. He's very tacked on to that one, and I think Sony really is like, hey, you got to have Venom in there. And Sam Raimi's like, okay, let's put him in there. But it's unfortunate. They're also doing a Silver Sable and Black Cat, I think, standalone called like Silver and Black. I don't know if you're familiar with a lot with those. Like
I don't know Silver Sable. What is it?
Silver Sable is, I believe, the daughter of a crime boss, but she's got like a bunch of guns and stuff. She could flip around, and she's kind of like a villain, anti-hero-ish.
Is it okay if I Google her right now?
Please do. That's fine. Yeah, I kind of looked into her a while ago because she was in the Amazing Spider-Man video game on PS2, and you get to fight her as Venom. And I remember thinking, like, who is this person? Like, I have to like run around the city and beat this person up. But kind of more of like, I think more like a heist movie or something. But again, trying to make like a Spider-Man world without Spider-Man, I guess is fine. In that case, a little bit more. I'm okay with that more so.
That movie could be sick. They both have white hair.
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah, exactly. It's like, and she's like Silver Sable's like in like a white, like silver, like onesie, and Black Cat's like in all black with like the kind of the fluff kind of thing. Yeah.
I think when you're casting it, they can't be two women with white hair. It's my guess.
I don't know.
But the idea of like two villainous women doing a heist in a movie, and that's it, is really good.
Yeah, it's like Thelma and Louise-ish kind of thing.
Yeah, but they're superheroes. That's fun. They're super villains, excuse me. Yeah, that could be super fun.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I would love to. I hope it's good. I don't know exactly if they talked about casting and stuff yet, but they've talked about those two films specifically as being kind of like in the Spider-Man wheelhouse, but not connected to Homecoming or anything like that, kind
Yeah.
of doing their own thing, making their own money. But are you excited more so? It sounds like a little bit for that one.
I am. Yeah. Because you won't feel the lack of Spider-Man in that movie.
That's a really good point. Exactly, because you don't need to know that Spider-Man even exists for this to happen. So, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like. Okay, all right, you got me more on board with it. More of like an Ocean's 11 style thing. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just put that in my brain that way. So, yeah, the Venom thing though, I just need to see one picture of him. That's all I want right now. Just one.
Yeah, and he can't. Like they can't go like this is our kind of realistic take. Like here's our like it has to be a big, massive, muscular, slimy, huge teeth Venom.
Yeah, I mean, like kind of more like this. I mean, maybe not as cartoony, but come on, like big guy. He needs to be huge. He needs to be, and also, if he's fighting Carnage, like you don't think they'd take Carnage and be like, he's Venom, but he's bigger. Like I hope they don't. I want them to do the Cletus Cassidy, like he's kind of scrawny, like making axes for hands. Like I hope they don't make him like a big red Venom. Like that'd be kind of weird. I don't think they'd do it. Do you?
No, but man, it's actually like that CG is so hard. I can't imagine it looking good.
Yeah, I know. We're just getting like good with like orcs and Warcraft and stuff like that, but then like to have something that's constantly like maybe moving if they want to do that. I just say don't do that. Just make it just the one texture, just skin like, don't go super nuts with it.
They've been doing this in the comics for like probably a few years now. I don't even know. It's probably been 5. But Venom, who has tiny eyes inside of his big eyes, makes me so mad. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, really? They do that? That's weird.
Yeah, so they like give him like tiny white eyes. And so like those are his real eyes, and then everything else is like just some coloring around his face.
Oh.
And I just hate how it looks, but they've really stuck to it. Like that is the modern Venom.
Oh, no, I hope they don't do that. They're like, we had to do that. They have to have the pupils or whatever so they can convey emotion or something, like his little eyes or the actual eyes, like Tom Hardy's actual eyes. Like, oh no. Okay, well, get more and more nervous about this one.
That'd be what would scare me.
Yeah, but anyway, circle it back. Fox getting a lot of it bought up by Marvel. Yeah, villains, X-Men. Is there any X-Men in particular though for you that you would love to see like come back, or just to do a version of, or just one they haven't even talked about yet, and just be like, yeah, he's in the MCU or she's in the MCU now, and she's really cool.
Rogue, I think was a really weird version of Rogue in the movies, and I just love Rogue from the animated series, who's just saying like blowing you a kiss and calling you sugar. You know what I mean? Like she's so much cooler there. That's such a cooler version of Rogue. And so, it's weird to have like a young teenage Rogue who's like afraid and timid. You know what I mean? So yeah, Rogue could be sick.
Yeah. Also with Captain Marvel coming down the pipeline, that would be a perfect time to introduce her to get her all those powers.
Sure.
Just to be like, oh yeah, she accidentally just put her hand on her for like 30 seconds and was like, all right, well, I guess I have these powers forever now. Like, oh man, introducing Rogue might really mess up a lot of things. They'd be like, hey, don't touch Scarlet Witch, or like, I don't know if they could, but still a cool character. It's definitely a curveball. Also, what happens if she touches Hulk? I don't know. These are things I'm gonna start thinking about. Be like, what if she did that?
So Hulk's not a mutant though, right? Like, I don't think you would get much.
Yeah, is it only mutants? Is that what it was? Just only mutants? But still, yeah, that's. I think that's where she got it in the first place, was from Captain Marvel, like her flight and the super strength and stuff. Maybe, but maybe they would just introduce her and say, hey, she's got all this, like all these powers. Plus, if she touches you, it's really bad. Like it'll really hurt. So I don't know. That's a good pick. I like that one, Rogue. They got to bring Wolverine though. If they do this right, they have to.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just don't even know who you cast now. I know a lot of people wanted Tom Hardy, but at this point,
I like Nightcrawler a lot. I think Nightcrawler was actually a pretty cool part of the X-Men movies. Very different from comics, but still, like, I like his design a lot. I just think he's such a cool guy.
Oh yeah, sure. Did you see, in Apocalypse, he's kind of. Did you like him in Apocalypse? I thought he was kind of strange. He's just 80s. Is that 80s?
Yeah. I forgot Nightcrawler was in that one. Yeah. I was referring to that cool White House scene.
Oh, dude, X2, man.
Yeah.
One of the best scenes in any comic book movie is his assault on the White House. That is so good. I love that.
You totally made me forget that he was in Apocalypse as well. That's crazy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. And they hinder him by he's fighting, and he's like cage fighting, but he can't teleport through like electrical fences or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just weird. Yeah, I know. I like that design though too. Like the artwork that he's done like on himself to kind of like make up for his sins or whatever. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought he was a cool character. Yeah, Nightcrawler's good. Do you think? How about Beast? How do you feel about Beast? If you like Nightcrawler, how do you feel about Beast?
Beast is cool.
Yeah.
And oh man, yeah. So like, Beast is cool as Blue Beast. You know, original Beast, who's just like a guy with big feet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that works. So like, Blue Beast is the way to go with Beast.
Yeah, no, definitely. I also like the only thing, maybe one of the only things I liked in X-Men 3, The Last Stand, was Kelsey Grammer's performance as Beast. And he pops up for like 30, like not even, like 3 seconds in Days of Future Past, and he just kind of walking down the hall. He's like, oh, yeah, Logan. It's just like, all right, like, hey, you're there. But I thought that's a good character, and I think you could really play with that character as far as being another intelligent person. Like, he's hanging out with Bruce Banner and they're talking about stuff and they're both like, hey, you know, we both have issues, like, you know, kind of talking like that. I think that'd be really interesting. So but then you also have to get in, like, you really have to do, I think Professor X and Wolverine are the 2 big ones you gotta make sure to like really nail down. But I would love to see that. And Magneto, obviously, like, he could be the recurring villain that helps him out to fight whatever comes after Thanos. Is it Galactus? I don't know. Galactus might be a hard sell, but they did Ego, the Living Planet. So I mean, I can't really rule out anything Marvel can do right now, because they can make anything seemingly work. So yeah, those are the big things. Also some Star Wars stuff, mostly just talking about like the older rights, the older Star Wars films. Not that that's been a big issue for Disney to deal with right now, but mostly just the MCU stuff, which could be really, really big if they do get the Fantastic Four back.
No, I'm sorry. What does Fox own in regards to Star Wars?
So I think from what I was hearing, it was mostly I thought it was like old Star Wars, because they were the ones who released the old Star Wars, like the old original trilogy. But I don't think that's really much of a factor. People have reported on that being part of it, but I think it's more so the Marvel stuff. I don't think that they're really fighting for anything there, because when they bought Lucasfilm a while ago, I don't think that they have, like, there hasn't been much that they can't touch as far as Star Wars goes. I don't think Fox, maybe it's more of like a money thing where Fox was still getting royalties when they talked about it, or something like that. Like, maybe Fox is still getting money from that. Disney's like, hey, if we buy you, then we don't have to pay you anymore. It's like, okay. So that's my guess. Like I said, people had mentioned it, but I didn't see anything. Mostly just the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. People just want X-Men, especially with X-Men doing like 4 or 5 things right now, where it's like they got a new TV show and a new movie and another new movie and all this stuff. It's like, all right, guys, we know you're trying, but like, maybe throttle back a little bit. I don't know. That's just what I think. Also, why not pick Fantastic Four and X-Men be together? Guys, you missed your opportunity. Fox, I don't know what you're doing. Anyway.
It's hard to sell It's hard to sell them. It's really, really hard to sell the Fantastic Four.
We'll just put him in. I just feel like you just kind of put him into an X-Men film. Like, you maybe don't even need to like do the whole like, hey, they were in space and blah blah blah. Because I think they were going to try to do that with this reboot, but it was just so gritty and weird and different, and I don't think it was going to play well into what X-Men's been trying to do. X-Men's been in this weird, you're right, they kind of make a good movie and they kind of like a bad movie, and it's, I don't know, it's like the only one that really matters is the one you watched before. I heard a reviewer talk about this. He's like, the only one you need to watch as far as X-Men for like continuity is watch the one that came before it, and then you'll be caught up to the next one. So if you want to watch Apocalypse, just watch Days of Future Past, and you'll be like, okay, all right, cool. Yeah, but I wouldn't be sad to see that happen. And I don't know, is there any part of you that would be like, oh no, keep them separate? You want to get them together too, right?
Yeah. Just because Disney's been doing such a good job. The only thing that I'd be concerned about is, I think Deadpool is a really cool movie, and it'd be weird for Disney to put out Deadpool as it is. And so if Deadpool is the thing that dies off of that trade, off of that acquisition, that would be a bummer. That'd be a true bummer.
Sure. Yeah, you're totally right. And I think the one thing that is nice about Deadpool, though, is he's the most malleable character out of anyone that they could get. So if they were to get him and put him in there, he might be they might PG-13 him quite a bit, as it were. They might kind of bring him down. But I see what you mean, because you kind of want to keep that interesting, fun, and R-rated comedy, franchise going without Disney being like, hey, we can't really market you super well because we can't market you to children. You're swearing and constantly doing all this bad stuff. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And that's, I think, the only reason why Fox has been doing this stuff or been keeping like the X-Men going is because Deadpool did so well. I don't think if Deadpool and Logan did well, I don't know if this would be much of a question. I think Fox would be like, we're not making anything good with it. So yeah, I guess We got to make money somehow. And a lot of this comes on the back of Disney announcing that they're doing their own streaming service, and they're kind of trying to. I think they're trying to kind of round up as much of this stuff as possible to compete with Netflix and Fox. Their higher ups are saying that they can't necessarily compete with that. They just want to focus on news and sports and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it's a good idea. I hope that it happens. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if the talks start back up. Also, I love hearing these numbers. Like, we don't have any numbers yet, but like you look at like Lucasfilm was 4 billion, and then Marvel I think was also like 4 billion. But for this would be pretty insane, I would imagine. So we'll see. I don't know. Do you have any like crazy wild guesses? Like multiple billions, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if 20th Century Fox has enough to be worth that much, more than Star Wars or more than Marvel, you know? And,
yeah.
I mean, they have breadth, you know what I mean? They have lots of different things. It's weird. You say they wouldn't be involved with broadcast, but like, would Disney then own The Simpsons? Would that happen?
So I was thinking about that. They talked about Disney taking on their like the TV networks and FX and all that. So technically, they might, which also starts to bring into some other interesting things. I think Universal Studios probably owns like park rights to The Simpsons, because that gets really weird with like all that stuff too, which is super strange. But it would be so weird to have The Simpsons be a Disney family, which would make for a few good episodes of Simpsons, I would think, just because they would make fun of it for a while. But they'd also probably own like Family Guy and all that stuff too, potentially. I don't know. It might get weird, or Disney be like, more.
Yeah, I think that when Disney bought Star Wars, when Disney bought Marvel, I was actually on the side of like being really excited about it and seeing those things as finally getting the support they deserve. When you propose Disney buying 20th Century Fox, nothing really lights me up. I'm not nearly as excited.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess for me, it's just that like seeing the X-Men be in such a weird spot for so many years is something I would like to see them move out of, because I like X-Men, and that's kind of what kicked off a lot of this superhero franchise stuff, is that the X-Men back in 2000 or whatever did so well. And people are like, oh, we can make like a comic book movie, like an ensemble cast that can make a lot of money. And since then, it's kind of like it's been so rocky and all over the place. But that's why I'm excited, and maybe for the chance for like the Fantastic Four and mostly just their villains to kind of move in, and because Marvel's moving in a cosmic direction and Fantastic Four has a lot of that stuff. So it'd be nice to see them not only just get the full race rights to some of these, like the Skrulls, which both companies seem to own. And they talked about that being in the Dark Phoenix, the next X-Men film, like the Skrulls, but it's also gonna be in Captain Marvel. It's gonna be very strange. But it would be nice to see them get like the proper nouns, as it were, like Doctor Doom or like the main Super Skrulls and things like that. So we'll see. Who knows? It could be a lot of money, but I'm not sure. We'll see if Fox goes back on it, or if it's something that they can't stop, or if Disney's like, we're doing fine. But yeah, we'll see. We'll keep you updated, because I want to know, especially what you think, moving forward, if Deadpool, what would Deadpool, what would the Deadpool in Disney look like? Would he be merchandised like crazy in the parks, or if they could even do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see one day. But talking about Disney, because we're going to move on to the meat of the show here, we're going to talk Thor Ragnarok. Now, for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, don't worry. We're going to talk in generalizations here in the beginning, kind of give you some of our thoughts, and then I'm gonna flip. I'm giving Kyle one too. If he wants to flip, we have a spoiler switch. You can't really see it, but it is there, and we'll flip it. You'll know, so that way you don't have to get ruined if you're like kind of like, I want to see it still. I don't want this ruined for me. There's a lot going on in this movie, but I want to just start off, Kyle. Just like tell me, just give me some vibes, man, off this movie. How do you feel coming out after this? Because you saw this just a few days ago, right?
Yep. I feel good. I feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe had a lot of movies that weren't willing to push things forward, and I feel like this movie has stakes, and that makes me really excited.
Cool. Yeah.
It makes me really excited for this movie to go all out and be allowed to go all out, and it's not like it's stepping on anybody's toes. It's like, just go for it, go nuts, and that's what this movie is.
Yeah, definitely. Is there any character for you that is so? There's a lot of them in this one, but is there anyone that stands out to you the most as just being like your personal favorite?
Yeah, and strangely enough, it is the Hulk.
Cool. I wrote the right shirt.
The Hulk is very well animated in this movie and given such a fun character that we haven't seen for him in any movie.
Yeah, no, definitely. you know, he's gotten a lot more screen time and just ability, like from the trailers, just to actually speak, you know,
Yeah.
to a person. He's just like, hey, this is how I think about this certain thing. And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
You
do you
know,
feel?
there's 2 Hulk movies. He's more fun in this one than in like any of those, you know?
Yeah. And kind of like a side note, I'm sure you've heard a little bit about this, but Kevin Feige said recently that this is the beginning of a Hulk trilogy, as it were, because Universal owns the Hulk rights to the standalone films. So instead, they decided they're like, hey, we're just going to give you substantial screen time in 3 movies, and then that will be like a Hulk movie, as it were, if you kind of cropped
I
it all
did not
together.
hear that. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Well, like Mark Ruffalo said a while ago, he's like, Universal doesn't know how to play well with others. They don't want to make money to do this whole like Hulk standalone film. So they're like, hey, we'll just do this instead. And I'm like, that's the clever workaround. Like, good for you guys. Just call it Thor Ragnarok, but be like, there's like a Hulk, kind of a Hulk thing here. So
No, I didn't know this. This is crazy. So like Marvel can't make a Hulk movie starring the Hulk because of Universal doing their 2 movies?
yeah, so Marvel Studios can't like outright make a standalone Hulk film by themselves without getting Universal involved, because they still own the rights to a solo standalone Hulk film. So if you go watch like The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, you'll see Universal pop up on the front. So instead they're like, hey, this is how we're going to do it. And I have a theory that it's going to be this one. It's going to be Infinity War is going to be the next one. And then because they changed Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 to just Infinity War, I think that 4th Avengers film is going to be World War Hulk. And that's how you lose Iron Man and Captain America and stuff. You have Hulk, maybe Hulk smash him into next year. I mean, like,
oh, that'd be too sad. That'd be really, really sad.
It'd be heartbreaking. And I don't think they will do that because Hulk would be hard to merchandise after that, but it'd be like, oh, Hulk's kind of a bad guy. Yeah, I think it's kind of a cool way to take that character and progress him without saying like, all right, these other Hulk films have not done well by themselves. Let's just put him with everybody else and give him a lot of screen time. So, yeah. Well, it seems to be paying off if you thought he was one of the coolest characters in the film.
Huge standout there, yeah.
Yeah. Is there anybody in this film that, or any like moments that, without spoiling it, that you were kind of like, I'm not a huge fan of this or this character or something that happened? Was there anything in there where you're like, I'm not into that?
Yeah. And it's strictly on like a graphical representation of just like some of the scenes looking absurdly fake. Scenes even on Earth where like this should look real, this should look nice and beautiful, but it's like this looks so green screened, this looks absurdly fake, in a way that's like off-putting, which I realize is silly in any superhero movie, right? Like it's all fake, it's all magic, but there's just some scenes where like there should be, you should feel in this environment, you should feel this space, and you can't. You feel like the cartoonishness of it, and so there's some weird parts like that. Without getting too specific, there's just some stuff that's like, this looks bad.
Sure. I heard there's one big complaint that is from the trailer, so I don't feel so bad about this, but when they meet Hela the first time, there's some really bad. I didn't really notice it. I just knew it because the trailer was different. The first meeting that they have with her in the trailer is like in a back alley in New York, but this one is definitely, it's in a different place completely, and people were complaining about that. And they just kind of overdid the whole scene with like green screen stuff, and I was like, what? They changed this whole...
why that looks so bad?
Yeah, that's the reason why it looks so bad, I believe. That's that, like where they meet her out, you know, in the wilderness, as it were. It's like, because they completely redid that scene. Because I remember being really excited because I thought that her appearance in the film was going to be in a back alley in New York. And I was like, this is going to be like Doc Strange's going to walk in. They're going to be like, who is this? And she's going to be like, I'm Hela. I'm coming to mess everybody up. And it's like, nope, just completely different intro. So there's something
that telling me the craziest things. That is so insane.
Go watch
the trailer. It makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Why? Yeah, you know, because I don't watch any trailers.
Yeah.
So basically, they were editing it together. Somebody said, this doesn't make sense at this point. Can we just CG out that entire background? And somebody said, yeah, we have that much money.
Yeah, I guess that's the crazy thing about it. It's like they probably either from a story standpoint, or they said like, hey, like we're gonna have certain characters be here at this time. It makes more sense for her to come in now as opposed to just reshooting the whole thing, because it's like shot for shot the same thing. But I remember like it happens in the movie, and I was like, I've seen the trailer so many times, and I know this doesn't happen here. And I'm like, what the heck happened?
Okay.
Like, I want to know.
Well, so. You plucked out the moment. That was the moment where I said, this just looks fake, and I don't feel like I'm here.
Yeah, that's Yeah. So, and it's weird because in that moment, it does feel like a bunch of actors not standing like where they show them to be standing. It's just kind of like, okay. Yeah, but that's the off-putting moment. There you go. We hit it.
Cool. That's really interesting.
Yeah, like if you want to, I would love to hear.
I'll watch that trailer. Yeah, I'll
please
watch
let
it.
me know. Be like, just like message me like, you're right, man. It's like it's so weird because the first time I saw, I was like, oh, this is gonna be different. But okay, cool. So there's some CG that you weren't a huge fan of. Is there anything else that you really stood out to you as like overarching before we get into like very specific things or like things you liked or didn't like?
I think the main discussion most people are going to have with the movie is its comedy. You know,
yeah. I want to discuss that.
It's definitely a comedic approach at a superhero movie. I think in good ways. You know, okay. I think it's good. It makes it stand out. It makes it its own individual movie, and it makes the characters more likable.
Sure. Yeah. No, I definitely understand that. I think the only problem for me is that even though this movie does have stakes, which I think it totally does, I think it's undercut too often by the comedy. Like there are moments where it's supposed to be these kind of crazy, like gods fighting gods and these big, like really big circumstances and consequences. But then people are just like, well, like that's the way the cookie crumbles kind of thing, or just like kind of like throw a joke. And it's like, what? Like, did you just see what happened? That's incredibly like insane. And they're just like, well, things happen, you know, they just kind of move on with it. So some of the comedy didn't really land for me, and specifically one character that was voiced by the director that I was kind of like, oh, this guy is just one liner after another.
Is that the Rock guy?
Yeah, Korg. That's the director. He played which I was like, after I found out, I was like, that seems a little self-indulgent, buddy. Put yourself in there as like he's like a main character. Like everybody is the comic relief, but that guy was like, yeah, I don't know. It just kind of left me with like a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, because Korg is not necessarily. We're talking about it. Is it Cronin? If you guys saw Thor: The Dark World, there's these big kind of rock monsters that Thor takes out one hit in Thor: The Dark World, but they're these kind of noble, strong warriors, and they definitely. This guy was not one of those. He's not. He's very, very jokey the entire time. So we can probably get into that more specifically. I'm sorry if I've like painted it bad.
It does. I get it. Like sometimes it works, like in The Incredibles, where it's like, hey, I'm just doing this temporarily. You know what I mean? I'm doing the temp VO for this character, and they're like, actually, you're the best. That works really well.
Dude, you're totally right. Yeah, and the mode.
Yeah, in this case, like I don't feel that way. That character wasn't funny to me. Because like the entire joke is like, look at his juxtaposition. He's a rock monster who's like soft and silly. But yeah, all right, okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say before we get into the spoilers? Is there?
We can go into spoiler mode. Let's do it.
Okay, I'll flip it right here. Oh god, there's so many spoilers. Oh my god, oh, it's too many. There's spoilers all. Oh god, there's so many spoilers. I'm so sorry about that. I gotta get that worked on. I did that for another film recently, The Foreigner, and there were barely any. This one had way more. This is not Jackie Chan fighting some people. Okay, so. Let's get right into it.
Yeah.
I love the opening with Thor in, I think it's Muspelheim, where he's fighting Surtur, and the immigrant song kicks in.
Yeah.
And they use this song a lot in the trailers, which you wouldn't have necessarily known. They do use it again later on. And I really like that scene because I think it sets a really cool tone for like the grandeur of this film. Like you don't really see Thor fighting off like 1,000 things ever. And he's like spinning his hammer around and they're kind of just really using Mjolnir a ton. And there's a lot of, that's where the comedy starts. That's where it started to worry me because there's a few moments there where Thor is like very funny. Yeah, he's very like much more quippy than he's ever been before. Mm-hmm. And I want to know, how do you feel about that scene?
Yeah, I think that that scene is setting up some important exposition, and so I think it's he starts spinning around. He starts making jokes because they don't trust the audience to stay interested for that entire conversation. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of what that is, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I kind of see it as Earth rubbing off on Thor.
Sure. Yeah, like a Tony Stark rubbing off on him, or just everybody else kind of being funny. Okay.
Yeah, you get like hints of like just the way they'll talk about like Tony's clothes and things like that. You get hints that they've had more time together than we get to see in the movies, which is really fun. But yeah, I think it serves a purpose in that scene in particular.
Sure.
A straight up Thor who's like only speaks stoically and never makes jokes, I don't think would have done as well at the box office. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. And I've been rewatching all of them and seeing, like, especially the Avengers. Everybody's kind of quippy in those, but even Thor gets a few like good like one-liners where he talks to the Vision about the power of Mjolnir, and he's like, oh, if it's unbalanced, you kind of lose a little bit of power on the swing, and he just kind of like little things, or getting choked up by Ultron, and he's like, I'm running out of things to say. Are you ready? And Vision kind of comes in and hits Ultron with the hammer, and he's just like, thanks for that. But yeah, I think that's where it starts, and I don't think it's necessarily bad for Thor to be more comedic, because you're right, because you go back and watch the first Thor movie, and the funny thing about him in that one is that he's kind of like a brash and ignorant child, and he's kind of going around the world, and he's kind of like drinking coffee. He's like, great, I'll have another, and he smashes on the ground, and it's
I'll see that scene too. I love that scene. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good scene, but it's just he's the barbarian, and he doesn't understand like Earth etiquette. He's just like, I'm a prince of Asgard, I can do whatever I want. Now he's just kind of like a little more self-aware of the world.
Just like Captain America, that can't work forever. Just like, I'm actually an old man, that doesn't work forever either. Yeah.
Oh, totally. But then he goes back to Thor, ends up winning and goes back to Asgard, where he sees a little play being staged by three people that I personally did not realize were all relatively famous actors, but they're recreating the scenes from Thor: The Dark World with Thor, Loki, and Odin. And one of the questions we got this week is, did you realize that Thor, I think it's Thor, was played by Matt Damon?
Yeah, I did not.
I didn't either. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we were talking about the Easy Allies. They were making fun of me for not realizing, because even in the audience, when you're watching that with the theater, they're like laughing at it. I thought they were laughing at this concept, which is kind of funny, but no, they were laughing because Matt Damon is in this.
Sure. Oh, my bad. He played Loki. It was Luke Hemsworth that plays Thor.
His brother.
Which I wonder, for him, if that's weird at all, where it's like, my brother is insanely like more famous than I am. They're like, hey, do you want to play like the fake version of your brother? That he's from, I don't know how he would.
I'd be on board. I'd be so on board. Yeah.
Oh yeah, if my brother was, I totally would. And then Sam Neill from Jurassic Park played Odin. I didn't know. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, really? Like, I thought it was pretty cool, but at the time, it's just supposed to be funny. It's supposed to catch the audience up on what happened in a movie that a lot of people didn't like. So, yeah. Did you find that to be an interesting kind of? Were a lot of people laughing? Were you laughing at this scene?
Yeah, but also again, like, that's just a really fun way to get through your exposition. That's a really fun recap of the last movie that doesn't need to be exchanged through dialogue, but also kind of informs. You think it's Odin, but it like informs what Loki's been up to. Like, to just see him watching this play and enjoying it so much just sets up the time in between the last two movies in an interesting way. It's cool.
Yeah, sure. It also is weird to hear Odin played by Loki kind of swear and be like, oh, like, hey, there's Thor, like, and that's where some of man, I hate to be picky about CGI, but Mjolnir looks kind of weird in that scene. He's flipping it around a lot, and they have to play up Mjolnir because unfortunately it doesn't really make it through this film, but they kind of have to use it as much as they can in the first like 20 minutes before they ruin it.
Yeah.
But that whole kind of bit where he's kind of like, hey, I'm throwing it out there and put my hand behind your neck. And he's like, you better transform back into Loki, otherwise I'm going to get your face smashed or whatever. But yeah, I do kind of crave the knowledge of how Loki got Odin out in the first place. I think that's kind of one of the biggest questions at the end of Dark World going into this one, where he kind of banishes Odin. And I'm like, how did you take him to the retirement home or whatever, Yeah. I don't know if that ate at you at all, or if you're just like, it happened, whatever.
It doesn't. Through Odin's dialogue, I kind of get the impression he was ready to go anyway. Sure. I kind of get the impression that, like, he was hinting to Thor when he said Asgard could be here. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, totally.
And so, I don't think it's weird. I don't think that Odin left too unwillingly.
Yeah, and there is even some kind of information we have that they had a version of Odin as a homeless Odin in New York for a while before they kind of scrapped that entire thing and brought it to Norway, where we talked about the bad CGI. But there are old images of Anthony Hopkins kind of like as a hobo as Odin, so they probably could have found him on the street, and that's maybe where they would have met Hela initially, in a back alley as opposed to in a field in Norway.
Sure, that makes sense.
But yeah, did you like the inclusion of Doctor Strange, by the way?
Yeah, yes, I did. Because it's cool to see Doctor Strange. I mean, we saw it at the end of his movie, but it's cool to see him just catch up to be Doctor Strange, to wear gloves and have the confidence and all the knowledge, because he spends most of his own movie just like, I got to catch up to all this stuff.
Yeah.
How am I going to go from this surgeon to this crazy magician, sorcerer? And he's there. You know what I mean? We can all accept at this point, Doctor Strange is Doctor Strange. He knows everything he's got to know, which is cool.
Well, I'm hopeful that because this movie is more of like a Thor and Hulk kind of buddy movie eventually, that we won't necessarily see like Doctor Strange by himself too much, or any of these characters moving forward. Like, I don't necessarily need to see just Ant-Man. Like, I want them to do, you know, more of like bringing in other characters, because it's like, where are these other characters while this stuff's going on? Like, why don't we work together? But yeah, it's cool to see him for a little bit. I was kind of hoping he would be in it a little bit more, but he's just there for a little bit, kind of does some stuff and sends them on their way. But then we get to the whole reveal of Hela as being Odin's like firstborn that they never really talk about, which is interesting because I think she's technically Loki's daughter in the comics.
Whoa.
And I was thinking, like, I don't think they're going to go this way with her, because it's like, how are they going to explain this one away? Like, that would have been too strange to be like, Loki's like, yeah, I've got a daughter, she's older, looks older than I do, and we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But did you like Hela as a villain?
Yeah, big time. I like the idea of Odin getting this kingdom through violent means and being ashamed of it and moving on and trying to move forward by just covering it up. That's cool. That's cool because we have consequences for something that we weren't aware of. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, you know what? He does. This is a great kingdom. Where did they get all this gold? And I love that line. Where do you think they got all this gold? It's cool. She's cool for those reasons. She's cool because she fits. She's, definitely wedged in. Nobody was planning Hela when they were writing Thor 1, but she fits in a way that makes sense. It's not easy to introduce a character you've never heard of before, you know?
Exactly. And I wonder if they're going to go with this, but one of the rumors is that she could be the embodiment of death, which has been an interesting kind of concept for Marvel, because that's who Thanos is really trying to, they say, like, to do this is to court death. And his whole thing is like, he wants to, like, he fell in love with like the physical embodiment of death, but it'd be much easier if she was like an actual goddess in this, as opposed to just like something that shows up after you kill like half the universe. So she could return and still be a major player in the MCU, which I would like, because I think, like we talked about before, the deficiency of having really strong villains, let alone a strong female villain like this. Like, she's the most powerful villain we've probably seen to date, I would say, potentially. I mean, Ultron's pretty high up there, but she was taking on armies by herself like it was nothing. Like,
the heroes couldn't beat her. That's the coolest thing, is they couldn't beat her.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, we can't do this. We're gonna have to go like plan B, which is not necessarily the best plan, but it's like, just go do it. But I really enjoyed her, and I thought she was a perfect pick. I don't know who's doing the casting over at Marvel, but man, I don't know if they've cast anyone yet in a major role where I'm like, that doesn't really fit. She's like, Galadriel. They're like, she's already kind of has the darkness to her, and it's like, yeah, just make her fully evil. And it's like, okay, cool. My question though too is, like, I really like Scourge from the other stuff I've seen. I don't know if I was as huge a fan of him, the executioner, the bald guy with the guns and the axe in this one. How did you feel about Scourge?
So I didn't realize he's like an established character.
Yeah.
No. They give him way too many shots. Carl Urban's the actor, right?
Yeah, which is sad because he's so good.
Yeah, just where he's like just stressed, and he like looks down and then up, and then he's got a fun redemption that we all like, but it just takes so long to get there that maybe they didn't need every single shot of him looking concerned and looking around. They needed somebody. They needed somebody for her to talk to.
That's exactly it, man. Very good. For sure. Just
like they need someone you need to hear her perspective, and she's got to talk to somebody. And so that's poor Scourge, I guess, if he's like an established character. I really like that she appears and just crushes Thor's buddies in an instant.
Yeah, and there's been talks about that because people are asking Kevin Feige, who's kind of behind everything, that like they're like, are they all really dead? Like the Warriors 3, did she like kill all of them? And he was like, there's a really good chance that they're all dead. And I was like, wow, like she just walks in and is like, dead, like, yeah. Okay, all right, Cool.
I forget. There was a woman on that team too. Did she die in a previous movie?
So Lady Sif is an interesting character. She has appeared a few times on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I think she is unaccounted for as of right now. I'm not exactly sure where she is. I don't know if they address that in Dark World, but I don't think she's dead. So
cool.
I like Sif. She's a cool character, and it was always like she was the one that Thor should have been with, and Odin was like, I remember in Dark World, he's kind of like, why are you looking to Earth, to Jane Foster, when what's right in front of you is perfect? And it like shows her like training and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, Sif's cool. But now we have kind of not a replacement, but Valkyrie in her place a little bit. Did you like Valkyrie?
Yeah, big time. That's a really fun character. She's actually less fun when she gets her Valkyrie army and armor, and she's like kind of straight laced suddenly in the end. She like has like long hair suddenly and is just like, hey, I'm smiling and I'm on your team all the time. But yeah, she's a fun character as well.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to kind of have her, like a fall from grace in a way, and like have her be like this person who's just like really cynical about all things Asgard. She's like, I don't really care about this, and she has this weird relationship with the Hulk where she plays with him like a toddler, kind of, where it's like
trains him. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's kind of neat. And she's like, yep, I just I'm living the life of kind of like, not necessarily a queen here on Sakaar, where this junk planet where this arena takes place, but I'm living a better life than I was because I watched everybody I care about get destroyed by Hela. And now you're saying like she's back, like no thanks, man. Like, but then she kind of joins up with them, and I think she's kind of a fun counter to Thor a little bit. And now they kind of did the whole like throwaway, like Jane Foster, Natalie Portman, like officially said she's out of the franchise, and they've kind of had problems with her like in the past movies where they're just kind of like, oh, what's Jane up to? And he's like, oh, she's doing her own thing. And now he's just like, it was a mutual dumping. I was like, what? I want to see that scene. Like, I know you can't like really get Natalie Portman for a scene, but are you sad that she's gone?
No, to me that was perfect. I think it deserves no more than 3 lines. It was to me like that's the best way to do it. Jane, she broke up with me. Okay, bye. And like that's okay. Yeah, I'm willing. Like nobody's sad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the human.
Nobody loved that character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the human parts of those movies are usually like, I think like Skarsgård is the only good part of those ones. Like the Eric Selvig, the professor is the only kind of interesting part because he could play into everything else. Everybody else in those ones was like, yeah, goodbye, Jane. That's okay. And that's an expensive person to just like, you don't have to worry about her. She's not gonna. The only problem is there was a chance that she could have played like the female Thor, because in the comics right now she is Thor, so that could have been a potential. But I think Chris will maybe stick around, or they could just make Valkyrie be Thor.
That'd be cool actually. Yeah, she could pull it off.
Yeah. Last, like, I'm trying to think of any other characters, like, Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster. How did you feel about him?
That's perfect. That's perfect. That again, is when you talk about casting, he made that character a character.
Oh sure.
It's he's doing like Goldblum stuff, but he's absolutely playing this guy who's been here for a million years. He's making it a character. I really love everything he did with that role.
Yeah, and I think things that really helped boost that are like the times when it would just show it like a projection of him that's like 400 feet tall, and he's kind of talking to people. It's like, hey, we're gonna have fun here tonight, everybody. And it's like he's still kind of a bad guy, but he wants to have a good time. And the only reason he's kind of in power is because he has like all these like warriors fighting for him that are basically, he wouldn't call them slaves because he doesn't like that. It's the S word. Like he is like willing to participate or whatever. But I thought he did a good job with it. And his right-hand woman, I don't know, she was kind of weird. I don't know if you remember her at all, but I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. I have no idea who that character was. There's just someone for him to talk to. Again, just like another character. But then we do talk, we get into Korg and to some of the other combatants in the arena. A lot of those characters come over from Planet Hulk. If anybody hasn't watched it, I think it's on Netflix, but it's an old cartoon, like a movie. And you get to see Hulk's rise in prominence over on Sakaar, on this planet he gets marooned on. And Korg and I think Meek, I think is his name, the alien, like the bug guy with the claws. Those are two of those combatants. And so Korg, we talked about him just a little bit. For me, I don't like Korg. He was just like,
I'm with you,
especially after kind of knowing like the background stuff. But for me, it was just they overplayed him a little too much. And like I said, everybody in this movie is kind of the comic relief, and to have one character just be the comic relief kind of was like, why are you even? I don't need you here. Like, you don't need to. It's, I guess, more interesting than just like a stoic rock monster who's like, we will do this together, my brother. But I wasn't a huge fan of him or really too many other people. They didn't really have a lot of people that were standouts. In the arena, there were some people kind of like laying around, and there was Meek, but. Was there any part of you that wished for more of that group or anything like that?
No, not really, in that's not where the story was for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I could see them being more essential in Planet Hulk, but it's still Thor's story. It's still about Ragnarok happening. And so, yeah, they were like it. If you think it's funny, it's great. If you don't, it doesn't play. You know what I mean? Like, because that character is strictly comedy, there's little else to grasp onto. But again, I get the purpose. It's strictly a side character.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I guess he plays at the end where, like, we see him on the bridge and we're happy he's there for support and everything. But yeah.
Yeah. It's like weird. As I came out of the movie, I was like, I think I could, if I was given the film, I think I could edit him out and no one would notice. I was like thinking about that. I was like, maybe at the end bridge part where they show him standing there, people would be like, what? It would have been funnier to me if they would have just introduced him in that last moment and been like, oh, there's like a crazy rock monster who's been our friend the whole time. And like, here he is. People would have been like, what? Who's that guy? He's standing there all proud, like, I'm part of this. And then kind of, getting back to finally getting back to Asgard. And, that whole scene, on the Bifrost, kind of the final confrontation, kind of the big set piece of the whole thing. One thing I really enjoyed, and they didn't really do enough of personally, was Fenris or Fenrir, Hela's wolf pet, was really cool. And I kind of wished that could have fulfilled the Scourge role, where she would have had someone to talk to, where it would have just
sure, I hear what you're
the gigantic wolf that's like walking around, and she's just like, oh, I'm so sorry, they've mistreated you or whatever. You were kind of buried under the treasure throne room. I was like, oh, that's so weird. Did you like her army? Did you like Fenris and all that?
Well, it's really funny. I love the wolf. The skeleton warriors she revives are so clearly guys wearing masks in later scenes. So when they first revive, it's like it looks cool. It looks like a skull coming to life. But then you see them just as extras on a set, and they have big filled out skulls. It's the weirdest thing.
Dang it, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how many she kills so fast. And again, we're talking about stakes. It's like she wipes out Asgard in seconds. I love her just throwing her spikes at the airships and they just explode. And it's like, oh, there's no hope here. And that's, if we can skip to the conclusion right there, I think that's so cool. I think it's actually very rare to have the superhero movie where the way to win is to run away. The way to win is to blow it up and run away. That's really interesting and unusual, and I think that was a cool ending for that reason.
Yeah, I also wonder too if they kind of, I don't know if we really kills Hela off. Surtur kind of attacks her, and you kind of see an explosion. The sword comes down on her, but I still think there's a really good chance that she's going to be coming back because. As long as it's weird because they say that she draws her power from Asgard, but Asgard's not a place, it's a people. So I wonder if that's going to come into play where she's like, I still feed off of the people of Asgard, or if the place itself was literally her power source. So it's a good point. I like Surtur. The only problem I have with him is I feel like, again, they kind of undercut him because when they first announced that they were doing Ragnarok, I was like, oh my God, Surtur's going to be in this? That's insane. Surtur's this gigantic fire demon, and he's really cool, and there's a lot of great moments with him, but they don't really, you get a few good moments where Hulk punches him once, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a crazy fight. And I'm like, let's have Hulk fight Surtur for a bit, and it's just it's over before it begins. Just kind of Hulk, get back here, and Hulk's just fine, I could do this, but whatever. And he's kind of
he kind of think he could. He got in some good hits.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm God, seeing Surtur in the background, just taking Asgard apart. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I wish they'd focus on that, but they kind of it's just the last ditch effort to get rid of Hela because they're like, we can't do this any other way. But did you like how that kind of wrapped up? Like you said, you enjoyed kind of the runaway, but do you like seeing Asgard just literally just yep, it's gone.
Get rid of it. Because of kind of the way we introduced it, in that a lot of the movies just kind of start and end in the same place. moving maybe just a little bit forward toward the next big movie that's going to tie everything up together. I love it. I love it having these stakes. I love that Asgard is gone. Yeah. And Thor has an eye patch now forever. That's like the craziest thing.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I forget, how did he lose the eye? Was it Hela?
Yeah, it was one of her little spears.
Yeah, exactly. Which is just kind of like infinite ones of those.
Yeah.
Also, that kind of reminds me, what did you think of Heimdall in this? He's kind of in it for like a bit. There's a big cast, like Idris Elba's in this movie, and he's like, we didn't even talk about him yet. Like,
yeah,
he's there.
Sorry, which one's Heimdall?
He's the guy with the sword. He usually controls the Bifrost. He saves all the.
Oh, so that is Idris Elba. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's cool. He's really, really cool. I forget like what corrupted him previously, because they kind of allude to it that he like helped somebody get into the Bifrost.
Oh, yeah, that's sad because I just have been watching these movies. Why he ended up abandoning it or something like that? Oh, because Loki sends them away.
Oh, he just tricked him? Loki came in and tricked him?
Yeah, he said he was Odin, and he's like, yeah, get out of here. Like, we don't want you anymore. Like,
okay.
But for a character that could see everything, it's kind of like, oh, okay, so he can still see everything even though he's not necessarily there. But yeah, he was fine. I thought they didn't really need more of him than that. But it's crazy to think that Idris Elba, who's like carrying his own films now, is like a minor character in this film. Like, I guess he started off as a minor character in Thor, but
they gave him cool stuff is the thing. They gave him some really good stuff to work with that I liked.
That's true. Also, I kept thinking like they were going to use that sword for something like more. Like, I thought for sure like that sword was coming back in a big way, the one that opens the Bifrost, and he kind of uses it for stuff. And I was like, okay, interesting. But yeah, kind of crazy mix of both the fantastical and the sci-fi kind of stuff. Like, you get like a Guardians feel, like, especially on Sakaar.
Yeah, absolutely. Sakaar's got great colors, by the way, and that was clearly intentional. That was clearly something they were going for, is to make it a colorful, cool garbage planet, and I really respect that.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that that's kind of how space is going to be. Like, James Gunn kind of, the director of Guardians said like, hey, this is how my space is going to look. And like, that's just how they have to make space look for the MCU, which is totally fine. And I think it plays. But I thought like, if they're going to have the Guardians meet up with these guys at some point, which they definitely will, like, Sakaar wouldn't be the worst place. It seems like it's just like a planet where you could throw anybody there and it'd be fine. Like, it doesn't, it all comes together. But the last character I do want to talk about, Mark Ruffalo. We talked about Hulk. How do you feel about Banner?
Love Mark Ruffalo. He's such a good actor.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's so fun in this. Of course, I hate still that for some reason Bruce Banner is in love with Black Widow, and that's like his thing.
Yeah, please, thank you. Talk to me about this for just a moment, because like Betty Ross is the one like usually he's in love with, but they kind of didn't have a person for him to love, so they're like, you know what? Like, Black Widow's gonna be your girlfriend, and that's your whole arc now, man. Like.
And I feel bad that, future movies have to deal with that because of the sins of Avengers 2. That everyone has to like keep moving those forward. But he's so fun in this. Every interaction you have with him, and just we're used to this stuff, but this was the first alien planet he's been on, and it's at least worth acknowledging that through dialogue. And I love that. I love that they put thought into things like that. Yeah, I really like Bruce Banner in this. Yeah,
bringing up the Black Widow thing, I think it also helps. I just watched Age of Ultron before seeing this, and the whole like sun's getting pretty low. Like, I like that Thor was like they were. It seems like all the Avengers were taught the lullaby to use on Hulk, to say like, hey, if you run into Hulk and he's gonna fight you, just say this phrase, and like he just constantly just kind of rubbing his back as Banner. He's like, it's okay, sun's getting pretty low. He's like, stop saying that to me. Like, I'm fine, don't worry about it. But yeah, I think Ruffalo, does a great job. I really like this portrayal of Banner, this kind of like very hesitant, version where he's just kind of like, guys, I was Hulk for 2 years. If I do this again, I might never be myself again. So they might have to deal with that ramification going forward until we get like a really intelligent Hulk for like 10 years down the line.
I like that Hulk. Yeah, it's funny. You believe Ruffalo. You believe that his Bruce Banner is this genius. Yes. You believe that he's a very hyper intelligent guy. I think because of how neurotic he is. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, definitely. And they also play off a lot of that in Age of Ultron too. They kind of like, Tony will show him something and he'll know what it is immediately, and he's just like, yeah, you're right.
You're right. It was fun actually that he was able to keep up with the weird. It's fun, the Valkyrie, Thor, and Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner, having this discussion about how to fly off the planet and what kind of ship they'll need. that's a really fun discussion because they're all on the same page somehow.
Yeah, definitely. And I also love just like as it continues, Valkyrie keeps like pointing at him and it's like, I feel like I know you. And there's like, me too. It's just like they both don't know quite. And then eventually she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, gotcha. Yeah, that is pretty fun. They do kind of there's some humor, especially at that portion of it that gets a little old to me. Like they kind of like, oh, we have to find the devil's anus, and they keep kind of going back to that well, as it were. Where I was just like, it's fine. But that whole spaceship chase, that's pretty good. I mean, there's like some things that are all right. They kind of do the whole like, it almost seems like they're invincible. Like they're just kind of jumping from spaceship to spaceship, just like doing stuff. I'm like, you guys don't even need guns. Like you just have swords. You're fine.
Even Bruce Banner, like I felt nervous for him when he flops into the ship. It's like, hey, he's still a human right now. You know,
that's true. The only one I care about. Yeah, he's like, I could die here, guys. Like anything could kill me, or I just turn back into Hulk. You know, at any moment. Which would have been, I don't know if they ever considered doing that where they're like, hey, this is a really big, exciting chase scene. Do you think he'd turn back into the Hulk? And it's just like, oh, I guess he just soothe themselves. Like, it's fine.
It's smart to save it. Yeah. It would make sense for him to become the Hulk in that situation, but story-wise, I think it was smart to save it.
Do you think that the comedy makes some of it predictable? And by that, I mean specifically the part where he drops out. He, as Banner, jumps out of the ship, smashes his face into the Bifrost, like or into that bridge. And it's like, oh, he's going to transform into the Hulk right away. And it's like, nope, he basically dies, like cracks his neck. And then he becomes the Hulk. To me, I knew that was coming. But like, did that scene surprise you?
No, I gasped.
Oh, really? Like the whole, my theater did too. They're all like, oh. Yeah.
No, I did not see it coming. That's so funny. Yeah. I was shocked by that moment. It was so funny to me.
I knew they had to. I was like, he's going to just face plant it and be like, okay, I'm the Hulk now. Like, but I loved his little fight with Fenrir. I did enjoy. I kind of want to see more of it. You can't do too much more. They're kind of fighting in the water. And
you can't show him killing a dog is the thing. You don't see the fight end.
Yeah, you see it like kind of go off the waterfall into nothing. But I was like, that thing's not dead. We've proven that if you throw somebody in there, that thing could show back up. But yeah, you can't have him like snap the neck or break the jaw or anything like that. It's like that'd be too much for Hulk. But I like seeing that was one of the things in the trailers too. They showed off, and I was like, "Wow! Like this movie has so much."
You can't put that in the trailers,
dude. They put. I want you to go and watch this, like just a post-mortem analysis, especially with the whole Hela in the alleyway thing. But they show quite a bit, and the first trailer they did a better job of only showing like the first bit of it, like kind of ending where Hulk and Thor fight. Which I guess I forgot to mention that. I mean, I have them fighting back here, but did you enjoy that fight scene?
Yeah, big time. Big time. Yeah.
I thought it could have been bigger, but I mean, it did what it needed to do. So, yeah. Did you enjoy the callback to Loki and a similar kind of smashing incident that Thor had, and Loki kind of stands up and he's like, "That's what it feels like," you know, because it's like beat for beat the same thing.
Yeah, kinda, but then like a smirk would have been better.
I think you are completely right, because of him jumping up and being like, "Yes, that's how it feels." I think you're totally right, and I think his so like that high amount of nervousness that he gets when they finally like they show the Hulk, and he's kind of like,
we already had the callback. You know what I mean? We already had it. Yeah.
And he's like, I got to get off this planet.
I did love that moment. Yeah, I loved that. But you're right. That's it. That's how that feels like. It's too on the nose. It's like we got it. We already had that connection. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Tom Hiddleston, but I think we both. I really still like Loki. I think he's one of the best villains in the MCU. He's one of those guys you can just kind of keep bringing in, bringing out. Kind of, he shows up when you need him to. So
yeah, I'm surprised by how much of a good guy he was in this, actually.
Yeah, and then at the very end, you know, kind of Thor. That's what I liked a lot about Dark World, is that he kind of knew that he was going to be betrayed, even though he doesn't realize the final betrayal or the final trick. But Thor shows growth, and they even joke about that. Thor's like, "I'm growing, like Loki. You're always the god of mischief, and I love you, but you know, you're never going to change your ways." So I don't know if we'll ever see Loki have any like true character progression away from that, as far as like becoming like a hero.
Wouldn't be right. Yeah, wouldn't be right. So, like, I got to believe he stole the Tesseract from that vault. You know what I mean? I got to believe he's got it right now.
That scene where he's walking into the vault to basically, he's going to resurrect Surtur, but he sees the Tesseract sitting there, and he just kind of looks back. He's like, you know, it's crazy.
I think he's got it. I think he's got it.
He's got the Tesseract. And that's a good way to bring him into Infinity War, for sure. I mean, obviously, Thor is going to be there, and we'll talk about that in just a second, the kind of the ending there. But that'd be a good reason for Thanos to attack that group.
I love a scene with Hela pushing away the Infinity Gauntlet and saying "fake." and you just hear it clank on the ground. That's such a good retcon. It's the best way to retcon anything.
I love, yeah. She even kind of talks about, she's like, half the relics in this place are fake, and I love it because you're totally right, because so many people were like, oh my gosh, no, there's like 2 Infinity Gauntlets, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be super weird, and it's like huge too. Like when it's like a big thing, and she's just kind of like, nope. Yeah, that's so good. That's totally what a perfect way to take care of that problem, because back in the day, that's just fishing. Like you go back and watch that first Thor movie, and it's not like, oh yeah, we really we're planning this out. It was just like, we'll see if people like it. So yeah,
they thought it would be a cute thing to put in the vault, but yeah, it's like, hey, that has consequences. Hold on, and yeah, they know that now. It's cool.
Yeah, and then the whole idea of having all those undead, or like all those Asgardians who had fallen, and even Fenris underneath that treasure room, I thought was kind of interesting. Kind of another nod towards Asgard being built on the sadness and destruction of death, kind of, and being like, yep, there's a lot here that people don't know about, and people think it's so great, but it's actually not really great.
Yeah, so. And I mean, something we relate to, and in most modern cultures, it's just we're built on foundations of horrible deeds,
Dude, that's what a good way to put that, for sure. Yeah,
it's something kind of real. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's totally true. Hella, man. I just really like that performance. I want Cate Blanchett to be in more of these things, like, because you don't get Cate Blanchett to do just the one thing, right? You bring her back.
She's great.
That's why a lot of those one-off actors, or one-off villains, I should say, are like actors we don't really know too well. It's just like,
I think her strongest delivery, her strongest line is, "I thought you'd be happy to see me," when she's talking to the crowd. I love that. The way she delivers it is you believe it. It's so cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that sequence is very akin to what I was always hoping that Thanos would do for Asgard, where I always thought that they were going to end one of the movies with his boots hitting the Bifrost Gate and walking towards Asgard by himself. But she kind of did that instead, which I thought was really cool, because it's just her, and everybody's like, hey, you got to back off. And she's just like, guys, you should be excited. I am the firstborn of Odin. Like, come on, guys, be excited. And it's just like, nope. It's like, all right, fine. Guess I'm killing everybody.
Them all. Yeah.
Just everybody. Like, it's, and I love too. I was thinking during her fight scene with all these guys, I was like, what if one guy gets to get a hit on her? One of the guys like runs her through the back. She kind of goes, ugh, turns around and just kills that guy, and just like takes the thing out, just like it's nothing. And I'm like, okay, that's a good way to establish how powerful she is. Like, if you get a good hit, might not mean a thing. So, yeah. I like Hela a lot, and I want to see more villains of that caliber. And that's the problem. And if you're not in a Thor movie, it's hard in an Iron Man film or Captain America film to make the stakes the same way, because this, I think, arguably has some of the biggest stakes that the MCU has seen to date. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, and we start with like a dragon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just a fiery lava dragon. It's just like you're starting there, and it's like I almost, when I saw that scene, I was like, I could watch a whole movie where Thor just does this stuff.
Oh, totally. Oh my gosh, going through every realm and stuff. Oh yeah, I would love to see that. I forgot about the fire dragon. Oh, good call, man. I want more time in Muspelheim. I like that place. That was cool. Yeah, and there's like 9 realms, so there's stuff they could pull from too if they needed to. But yeah, we'll see. Asgard being gone, that's kind of a big deal. Probably one of the biggest we'll see, and that might have some pretty crazy repercussions. And then when they're at the end, they kind of say like, hey, we should probably go to Earth. And I'm thinking in my head, don't bring them here. That's like, there's going to be so many crazy things that, they're going to have to deal with, bringing a bunch of Asgardians and bringing Hulk back to the Earth and all this stuff. And which also reminds me of the whole like Thor saying like how much he likes the Hulk over Banner, and then eventually telling Banner he's like, I love you so much better than the Hulk, kind of like everybody's playing. Yeah. He's there like, oh, the planet Earth hates you or Earth loves you. And it's interesting. But I guess my question too for you, now that we're at the end of this film, Thanos' ship has been confirmed to be that big one that kind of shows up at the end, the post-credit scene there, to potentially attack them. What do you think, as far as like that all goes? You can't really kill everybody on that ship, because that's kind of the interesting part, is to bring all those people to Earth. Is this like a smash and grab type of thing? How do you feel they're going to play it?
All right. I think that they could escape. And so I think that you could use this as like Thor has to deliver the warning to the Earth.
Sure.
And I think you could do a thing where like Loki allows them to flee, but then Loki like makes a deal later on. You know what I mean? They could do that kind of thing. So they'll escape. Many of them will escape, I believe. And then like that's where we get to this. Thanos is not on Earth yet. And so it's a ticking clock of him getting there. And so they have to prepare. That might be it.
Yeah. Do you think the Tesseract is a bargaining chip?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Also, they really need to do a good job of fleshing out why Thanos had the Chitauri attack first, and then the Ultron. Maybe he was trying to soften Earth up for like his inevitable like coming there, because like a lot of it's like, why didn't you just go yourself? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if anybody could stop you as you are, let alone with a couple Infinity Stones. So they're going to be playing a lot of catch up, I think, in that first bit of Infinity War with like him just getting all the stones and then kind of being like, hey, I can do all this stuff now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we might see some crazy stuff there. And if you want to retcon something, a good way to do it is with that Infinity Gauntlet. If you want to change anything, that's a good way to do it. Or Scarlet Witch, one of the
Yeah.
two. So they've got all their retcons ready to go if that Fox thing goes down, which would be great. Yeah, but I'm excited to see this. And you're right, it does progress the plot a lot. You know, you see one of like the Captain America's kind of Civil War, I think, was kind of interesting, and that pushed it forward without really more so just the character development of how the heroes interact with each other. But you're right, we haven't seen something like this scale. Yeah, like Iron Man 3 is more of like a Tony Stark kind of like figuring out his own life story. And it was never anything like, oh my gosh, like the world has changed. Now it's like the universe has changed, and they are really setting up the rest of Infinity War and stuff like that. So yeah,
Thor has lightning powers now.
he does have
Feels good.
He's always had them apparently. Maybe he just channeled it, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I wonder what I'm not going to talk about anything Infinity War that we've seen, but I'm interested to see what they do as far as like weapons for him go, and kind of does he need weapons really anymore? It's just kind of, he can have a sword that's basically a Chidori sword, just stabs him with the lightning. But yeah, I think it's a good move for the character, and it's interesting to see him become more like Odin. Like at the end of this, he's kind of sitting in the chair with the patch and stuff, and you're like, okay, you're slowly becoming the new Odin, and all that. So yeah, but overall, if you had to give it a score, and I know you hate to review and score things, you don't even have to give it like a number if you don't want to, just like a recommendation. Like, would you recommend people go see this?
Yeah, I would easily recommend this one. This is an easy recommendation.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. This is such a fun movie that's not cheap, and it doesn't like play around with you. It's really good. It's a really good movie.
Sure. Cool. Yeah, I think as far as spectacle goes, I don't think you're going to see another Marvel film with this scale, which is really cool. I wish they would have focused on that a little more personally, but from the bits and pieces you get, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like really big, kind of insane moments that I think Thor's universe kind of gives you a little bit more of, as opposed to like Captain America, which is more about the characters themselves dealing with stuff. But yeah, I'd say so too. I reviewed it. So if anybody wants to see that, I did give it a pretty good score. And
Cool.
I'm not going to tell you what it is. No, just kidding.
Yeah, gotta watch that review.
Gotta watch a review. I would say you should watch it though. But if you're a Marvel fan, like obviously you're going to see it. If you've been kind of burned by old Thor movies, I'd say give this one a chance, because it is very different than any Thor film you've seen before. It's more of a comedy, I'd say, than like an action superhero film. I feel like it's like a comedy, but they just happen to be superheroes. I don't know. How do you feel?
I don't, because structurally we still have battles and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would just say it's a very funny superhero movie, a very funny action movie.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We talked about the comedy a lot, and for me, it did feel like they tried a little too hard with this. But I think a lot of the Thor films weren't perceived as funny, so this was kind of like their chance to be like, hey, let's do something completely different and zany and wacky and kind of have a good time. So it's definitely there are sad things that happen in this movie, but it's definitely more of like a feel good, like kind of walk out. You're like, oh, that was kind of a wild ride, like very 80s vibe too. Did you get that? Like the synth, they played a lot of synth music
with the soundtrack. It was unavoidable. Yeah.
I was like, why? I don't know why they picked. I was like, is this like a response to like Stranger Things and 80s being really cool right now? And it's like, let's put all the synth in there, because like their action scenes would be like, I was like, what the heck? Like,
I think you're right, because it almost feels like it's trying to be cool more than it is trying to evoke any emotions or anything. Yeah, I hear you there.
Even the title is like when they showed it, like in the trailers, you'll see this dude's like Ragnarok kind of shoots into frame in this like old 80s style. And I was like, what? Like, it's not like he went back to the 80s and was like, I had to learn to be Thor in the 80s. It's like, I don't know. It's just cool to be hip in the 80s, I guess, right now. I'm not sure. Yeah, we both recommend you go see it. We'd love to hear what you guys think about it, because that is something that we were interested in. This is a dialogue. You know, this isn't just us spouting our ideas at you. We want to hear what you think too. And if you haven't seen it yet, I want to know what you're like most excited about maybe seeing, or what you might be most hesitant about, because I know a lot of trailers stuff. Yeah, because we always thought, we'd be positive at the same time, be skeptical too. I mean, I'm gonna go see Justice League next week, so I'm trying to be a bit of both.
Sure.
Oh boy. Oh goodness. By the way, side note, are you excited about Justice League at all?
Yeah, I'm gonna see it. Cool. My trailer blackout policy does not apply to DC movies.
I love it. I'm the same way. I'm like, I gotta watch all those trailers. I'm like,
yeah.
I
think it's gonna be awful. I think it's gonna be a terrible mess, but I can't wait to watch it.
And you're aware of that, like Joss Whedon kind of went into to wrap up on it and all that. So that's why it's more quippy. I think it's much more like kind of Flash. It's got little jokes and Batman, Aquaman, and oh boy, I think we already talked about that. But Aquaman, man, this latest trailer, it's my man. And I'm like, oh no, like it's like you just got out of the frat out.
I'm ready.
I'm excited too. This might be the last time we see Ben Affleck as Batman too. So, oh boy, it's gonna be something. But I did hear it's under 2 hours. It's 1 minute shy of 2 hours. So that's at least it's not gonna be like a 3 hour like crazy epic. Like okay, wrap it up. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, now it's time to get into the show. One of my favorite parts of the show, where I do a quick salute to my commander, Jonathan Larson, our $100 patron over on Patreon.com. Jonathan, thank you so much. As Jonathan likes to say, their fate concerns me. Yours does not. Thank you, Jonathan. Really appreciate the support. And if you want to check out how you can get a cool custom avatar like that, go check out patreon.com/criticalreviews. But now we get into the show that I like to call, Kyle likes to call, that we like to call Time Killers. It's part of the show where we talk about the movies we've been watching, the games we've been playing, TV shows we've been doing. We just talked about Thor Ragnarok. But Kyle, what have you been playing, man? What are TV shows?
Well, yeah, it's not obscure or fun like normally, but Mario Odyssey is what I've been playing.
It need to be obscure, man.
Yeah,
just love it.
Yeah, Mario Odyssey is very, very good, obviously, but it's just crazy. It's crazy how much it is the game that I've wanted for so long. It's a Mario game about exploration, and that's crazy. It's so fun that is the game they decided to develop.
Yeah, and I wonder if a lot of it's because they're finally listening to people, and people are saying like, hey, I really wanted a successor to Super Mario 64, and this seems to be the closest thing. Besides, like, Super Mario Sunshine has elements of that, but Galaxies were kind of their own thing, and now this seems like more of a return. This seems like the truest sequel to Super Mario 64. Is that correct, or would you say that one of those other ones would be?
No, I'd say it's has a lot with Sunshine. It shares a lot of the Sunshine DNA as well.
Okay.
Cool. It feels like a direct sequel to Sunshine almost, in that you just have these real environments that you're exploring, which is great. It's like, it's not like hopping into a painting and you're in a magical world. It's like all of these areas have context within this planet, which they make very clear, which is crazy. They just have an overworld map that shows you where each of these worlds you're dropping into is.
Cool.
Because I always wondered, like, is Mushroom Kingdom the entire planet? And they're like, no, dude, no.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Mushroom Kingdom is a small part of a much larger planet. It's like, okay, there it is. There's your map. It's crazy.
Okay. Is there anything besides maybe like the motion controls that you aren't a fan of in this game?
Yeah, motion controls is one, because I'm using the Pro controller, which I like for everything, because the analog sticks are great, and it's a comfy controller. So then to just do things with this, it sucks. It's just not tight. But no, man, no, everything. We came up with a legitimate criticism. So the like continual bosses that you run up against are called the Brutals. They are the wedding planners for Bowser's wedding. There's no scene in which you see them wedding planning, and so if there was a cut scene where you see the Brutals planning the wedding, it would make us happy. But since there is none, we're not. It's not perfect because it's missing that scene.
Sure. Okay, I get that. I haven't played the game, so I don't want to like just trash on it, because I'm not going to. But one thing that's always kind of struck me as strange is that in any video game, I like to be completely enveloped. I don't like to think, oh man, I'm playing a video game. That's one reason I have a problem with the Souls series, because there's like a counter every time you kill someone. It's like, you got this many souls. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm playing a game. But in Super Mario Odyssey, the aesthetic choices for some of the characters seems a little off to me. Now, I'm talking about your T-Rex. I'm talking about like the dog. I'm talking about some of the things in the world that don't look like a Mario character. Is that something that's bothered you at all, or do you just like, nope, I'm just T-Rex now with a hat?
Yeah, I'm way into it, actually. I love the idea of Mario leaving his own, because the game's called Mario Odyssey, And it does feel like you're going on a crazy adventure as you progress through the game. And so it's kind of like, it's a little cheap, you're right, but like just having everything look different aesthetically makes it feel more an adventure, makes it feel like you're dropping into an area Mario's never been before, and makes it feel more like you're exploring. And so I love it. I love the aesthetic incongruities. I think they're cool. I think they're really, really cool. Like, I just love New Donk City. I love walking around and there's just tall, normal humans. It's fun.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I like I said, it might be my problem, but it doesn't seem to be a problem anybody else has, which I'm glad, because I don't want like, I don't want anyone to look at this game and be like, man, this is like, there's something not great about it, and I hate this choice, because it's a bold choice, to make, because they could have easily just gone and been like, hey, everybody's gonna look like an asset from older Mario games, and you're just gonna go around those worlds, and it's gonna be bigger and better than it's ever been before, but much different direction. So
yeah. And to go back to a conversation we had earlier about Assassin's Creed and it finding a way to be successful as a single player game, I just think like I love that Mario has so many different costumes. It's something that Nintendo's been precious about, I think, in the past, where they care so much about the depiction of Mario and things like that. But in here, they're just willing to let him look like a caveman with a beard. And so I think it makes it tweetable. I think it's like a highly tweetable Mario game. Just in how many different things are going on in each different level, and all the different variations of Mario you can make and see and things and do. And just, it makes it shareable. And I think that's pretty an asset to this game.
Definitely. So I was trying to get a firm answer on this, but do the costumes actually change anything besides your look? Do they give you any special?
Absolutely none. No, they have no attributes.
Cool. That's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
And I know people are talking about, they're like, it's more of like fashion Mario, where they're just like, how do I want to look when I'm in New Donk City? Do I have like the scuba gear on or whatever, like, which I thought was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And you're right. I think a lot of that maybe comes from like just putting Mario in a cat suit on the cover of a game. And they're just like, hey, like, it's Mario. I can see his face, but he's in a cat suit or something. And now it's just like, Mario can be in any outfit, like, and just kind of just being like, guys, he'll still have his classic. If people want to wear the classic, it's fine. But just let him put on different stuff. He's on an adventure. Like, why would he be wearing the same, like, overalls the entire time? Like, put a poncho on the guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
It's very fun to match the environment that you've walked into. It's cool.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is like, are you a kind of guy that you like to match up with how you're?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't like to play around. I like Mario to fit in.
Yeah, it's Kingdom Hearts style a little bit, where you kind of go to a new place. Like, if I'm going to go to Halloween Town, I'm going to look like I'm in Halloween Town.
I actually thought of Kingdom Hearts a lot when I played through this. It's crazy in that way.
That's really cool. Oh, man. Kingdom Hearts 3, man. Will it ever come out? Who knows? I hope so. Cool. I'm glad that you're enjoying that. Are you doing anything else besides Super Mario Odyssey?
No, I have not decided what my next game to pick up. I think it's going to be Call of Duty. I think I'm going to try to play through that campaign really quick.
Oh my gosh. My buddy was playing through it, and he said it's actually pretty good. I think it's probably a good return to form for them. You look at somebody like, we're talking about Assassin's Creed, we always talk about it, but kind of they took a year off for Assassin's Creed. But this, I feel like Call of Duty, not that it's taken a year off, but just kind of said, hey guys, like, maybe instead of being like, let's go as future as we can, let's go back to what we used to do really well. And let's see if we can do that right. So yeah, it looked like kind of a cool campaign. It looks like your health doesn't regenerate. You have to heal yourself.
Cool.
Like, your person has a health bar. Like, you have
and apparently not too long, which is a real benefit to me sometimes.
Oh, definitely. Those campaigns are usually never. It's just to whet the appetite, as it were, before you get into the other stuff. Are you interested in the multiplayer of the zombies at all?
No, afraid not.
That's okay. Neither am I. They're like, this is like the craziest zombies mode ever, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, good for you guys.
It's yeah.
Yeah. Cool, dude. Are you gonna play? Is that a co-op campaign, or is that single player?
Only single player. I asked Huber. He said, no, sorry, dude. It's only single player. It's like, all right.
Dang, that would have been a jolly stream for you two. Yeah. Oh, well, shucks. Maybe next year when they do.
Yeah.
World War II, do you see them going, like, what do you see them doing next?
I think that the way they like leapfrog each development team, I think there's almost no way next year's is also World War II.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. They would be doubling down on that.
But I do think, I bet, my guess is my bet for you right now, it'll go back to like present day. That's my guess.
Yeah, Modern Warfare style kind of thing. Like, just don't get jetpacks and stuff. Like, have Titanfall do all that, but they'll just be like, hey, we're going to focus on this. And that must be tough for them to decide where to go with it. But I don't know how well it's selling this year. That's my thought. It's like it always.
I think it's selling very well. Is the thing.
Okay, I'll say it always sells well to me as like a person who isn't really into Call of Duty. I'm like, yeah, it can't be selling that well. And it's like actually, it's sold better than any game you love. And I'm like, okay, good, excellent. That's fine. Cool, man. Is there any besides that any other movies or TV shows you've been watching?
No, Thor's the last movie I've seen in a while. Cool. And TV shows is the regular stuff. Good Place is very good.
Oh yeah, I've seen that on there. Is it Netflix or something like that? I was like, oh.
So like I think you have to watch it on Hulu because it's on NBC currently. Yeah,
maybe that's where it was. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. Was that the one about a person who gets into heaven and they're not supposed to be there?
Yeah. Cool. And it's actually very funny. It's very funny, very well written. Just characters who are allowed to be flawed in funny ways. It's just very good. It's very, very fun.
Cool, nice. Well, for me, we already talked about Thor, talked about Assassin's Creed Origins, and I told Kyle before we started shooting, I've been watching the old Pokemon episodes. I've been going just like for the gyms. I've just been watching the gym battles, which...
Oh, so you skipped the good stuff.
Some of the, I don't know. There are some really good things in that show. I think there's some timeless comedy in it that I really like, and there's a lot of, it feels like filler, but a lot of the show is just like, hey, there's a new Pokemon you've never heard of before, even in the original show, and it's like, let's just focus on Ditto for like a whole episode, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I gotta remember how he did all the like the battles and the badges and stuff. But man, the fighting in that show is very strange. It's very much like you do a move and the other person's like dodge it and use another move, and that like immediately counters that person. Like some Pokemon just sit there and take the shot if they don't, like the trainer doesn't say dodge. They're just like like a hyper beam hits them right in the face, and I'm like, what? So yeah, that's been entertaining to go back through to just kind of watch that. But
how fun is the tournament, the league?
Which one?
The one at like the at the end of the first. I guess they're not really seasons, but Ash gets his 8 badges and then goes to that tournament. Yeah, what's it called? Is it the Indigo League?
Indigo Plateau, baby. Yeah. Okay. Indigo's good. It ends on a stupid technicality, but it's very good. There is some really hilarious fights. One of my favorites is this person has a Bellsprout that's really, really strong, which was always weird for me as a person who played through blue and red. And I'm like, why are these like first tier Pokemon like kicking everybody? But anyway, so it ruins Bulbasaur, ruins Pikachu. And then Ash finally brings out Muck, and Muck just like lays on it, and then it wins. And like that's just how he wins. He has a battle, like the first battle he has, he just sends out Krabby. Krabby evolves halfway through the match and ends up beating everybody. It's super fun. And he ends up going up against Richie, which is basically his doppelganger, and he loses because Charizard is not interested in battling a Charmander, and he loses on a technicality. And I'm like, it kills me. But yeah, that's a good one. I just watched like the Johto, like his league battle. I'm just at the end of that one, and he fights Gary, and that's a pretty good fight between like 6-on-6. But yeah, I like the tournament stuff. I think that's interesting. Thinking about like these trainers who've gone around, collected all these badges, and then like live in a place for like a couple of weeks and like have all this free food and free lodgings, and it's just like because
it's like the Olympics, yeah.
Oh, totally, yeah. And it's like it's big business. Like there's like everybody from around. They're like, oh my gosh, like if you're a trainer and you're like in the top 16, you're like a celebrity. People are like, oh my god, hey, it's Ash, and it's like, yeah, how's it going? Yeah, I just enjoy going back to that. It's just my childhood. So yeah, that's been fun to go back to. And eventually we'll get back to Yu-Gi-Oh! They only have so much of these things on Netflix, so you gotta find the old DVDs or something like that. It's not easy, or other ways. Anyway, not that I promote anything like that. But I do enjoy that, and that's pretty much all I've been killing time with. So
sure.
Now we get into the final segment of the show, my favorite segment, community feedback and questions. So, like I told you, like we were talking about before, we talked about Thor Ragnarok, and before the show we discussed this too. But I asked everybody who their favorite character was between Thor and Hulk. Got a few answers here. Ryan says, I would say Hulk. I like the Jekyll and Hyde relationship. I also appreciate the unpredictability of Hulk, which is good too. And I think they don't really play with the unpredictability as much in this one. Like I think in Avengers they do a little bit. Like you'll do something cool and then punch Thor or whatever. And you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Our buddy Sean says, me like Hulk. Hulk's strongest Avenger. He always smash. Which did you like that whole bit about strongest Avenger?
Strongest Avenger, yeah.
Yeah, the point break thing, and I'm like, that's pretty good. Man, everybody loves Hulk. Guyful Dream says Hulk because he doesn't need a weapon to destroy everything. That's true. He doesn't need a weapon to destroy everything. That's very true. All right, time for the questions. This is one that I really appreciated. I thought it was
Wait, what's your favorite between the two?
Oh, I have to choose one. Okay, it does seem
Yeah.
kind of like I'm wearing the shirt for it. But
Yeah.
I have to say Hulk. I like Hulk a lot, and I've liked Hulk for a long time. I even liked the old Eric Bana Hulk movie. Well, the movie's not super great, but I liked his portrayal of Bruce Banner. Um, I like the intelligence of Banner, and then just kind of that juxtaposition with this like super rage monster that can
Yeah.
basically win and kill everybody at any time. And I think he's so cool, and I feel like he's been sidelined so much because the movies haven't done well. But I'm hoping that he gets a little more time in the sun. And I like Thor a lot. I think Thor's coming to his own, but I still think Hulk for me. I don't know. How about you?
I like Thor. I really do.
Cool. And now he's got his own powers. He doesn't even need the hammer. He's just
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. I think he's funny, and I think he's gone through a fun arc as a character. You know, as like a prince. You know what I mean? As like a little prince boy, and I think he's actually become a cool character despite all that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. That's a good question. And it's not fair. I mean, that's only the two characters. If you wanted to get into like more like Iron Man, Cap, and stuff, we'd be here all night.
Yeah.
So we got to get into questions here because this is a good one, and it just came in, and we aren't prepped at all. But it's from our friend Sean, who answered one of these.
Okay.
But it's gonna be good because it's for you, Kyle. It says, "Dear Kyle,
Okay.
there's so much buzz surrounding Mario Odyssey and many gaming news outlets calling the Switch the best console to buy right now. Do you believe the system to be one of Nintendo's strongest launches? Also, we're used to seeing the massive demand for a Nintendo console or handheld right out of the gate, but after, say, a full year, things seem to feel to go into cruise control towards the support of the newest console. Can you see Nintendo continuing to be aggressive and putting out a consistent annual first-party lineup like Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 2, and Mario Odyssey caliber games? # Critical Podcast. Adapt and overcome, love and respect."
Cool.
So the first question, do you believe the system to be one of Nintendo's strongest launches?
Yes. Yeah. Big time. It's crazy. It's not even a year has passed at this point, and it is easily one of the best first years of a Nintendo console.
Yeah.
You could say like this, Super Nintendo, I think actually has a really good first year. So I think it's close to that. It's just incredible what they've been able to do with it this year. It's enhanced by, delaying Zelda, so that Zelda comes out as a launch game for this, you know what I mean? Yeah. Part of my endearment toward the Switch is just that Breath of the Wild came out when I got it, whereas I easily could have played it on Wii U most likely. But anyway, I just think there's almost no question at this point.
Definitely. And do you think that like the aggressiveness of this first party lineup like they had with this past year will continue to go onwards?
So yeah, we had a long talk about this because we don't know if Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon are truly going to come out next year. Yeah. If they do, the answer to your question is yes. If it's only one of them, it's already a step down. It's really hard to match a brilliant new Zelda game and a brilliant new Mario game. It's not like a half step for either of those franchises. Both of them really went out there and tried something new, and they're the two most popular Nintendo franchises, discluding Pokemon, which isn't really Nintendo's, but partially Nintendo's. So yeah, they went out there, and I think it's too crazy. It's too crazy, especially if you've never played Mario Kart 8. Like, just having Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch is too crazy. Right, they were right to mention Splatoon 2. We'll see how Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is, but it's going to be hard to match it. But I don't think you have to worry about them coasting. I think that just the simple advantage that their handheld and console teams are now working on one console means that this thing's going to have twice as many games.
Yep. Also,
so
I think,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say third-party support too. Everybody's going like, "Hey, we're also going to come to Switch. It's just going to take us a few months." So I think more people are interested in that now when they weren't before. They're like, "We'll see how it goes," and then.
Mm-hmm. So I think by this time next year, that will be kind of regular. That third-party games will be coming on Switch.
Yeah, you'll see Assassin's Creed on there, no doubt. Like Call of Duty and stuff will just be probably just a version of it somehow on there. Like, yep, there it is on Switch. Yeah, I think you made a good point there. If it isn't both Pokemon and Metroid, it'll be a step down. I think the only one that could really do it, though, if you had to choose between the two to be like kind of near the same level, if they made an insane, like dream-like Pokemon game. So I think Metroid will obviously do really well and people really want it. But like that fervent fan base that's still after Pokemon Go launched, that like people still are nuts about Pokemon. Like they want it so badly. I mean, you make a crazy Pokemon game, and I don't think it comes out next year, but when it does come out, that for me, my hands are going to be tied. Hopefully, like I hope I look at that game and I'm like, yep, I'm sold. I got to get it. Like, just can't not. So, yeah, that's a good question. Really good question. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Retro Studios have been working on something, and so if their game is huge, then yeah, don't worry about it is what I mean to say. I mean to say don't worry about year 2 of the Switch and don't worry about year 3.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think so. I don't think so either. I think after this first year of being so critically successful and so popular, that they have to keep wanting people to keep this thing in their hands. You know, like this is a big and crazy thing. So yeah, I'm hopeful for it as well, even though I don't have one yet, but soon, probably, most likely. Next question. If there was a Rugrats parody of Ragnarok, Rugrats in the Rock, which Rugrat character would represent which Ragnarok character and why? I thought you would like this one.
Okay, Chucky is Hulk.
Okay. Is Tommy Thor?
Sure, Tommy. Yeah, Tommy always gets to be the main character anyway, so Tommy's Thor, just out of obligation.
I'm not as familiar with Rugrats, but I thought Reptar would be Surtur.
Sure. Lil can be. Oh no, I guess Angelica. Yeah, Angelica's Hela.
Yeah, I was thinking that. That's.
So Lil can be the Valkyrie. I don't know what Lil or Phil would be. Phil is the counterpart. I don't know. Phil is sorry, his name Scourge. Phil's Scourge. Sorry, Phil.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that all the Rugrats? Phil, Lil, Chucky, and Tommy and Angelica. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think that's pretty much all the ones that, you know, for the most
part. I don't care about Dill. I don't care about Tommy's little brother.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that. We don't need to be like, you know, who's Grandma.
He could be the rock monster. Yeah.
You could be Korg. We don't like you. That's pretty good. I like that one. This comes in from Anna. She says, hashtag critical podcast. That's how you reach us if you want to. If you arrived and discovered Asgard, what would be the first thing you would do? What would you bring back with you?
So it's really interesting they introduced the idea of them having plays in Asgard. There's no TV is what that means.
Yeah.
Or no
Loki
email.
Loki was like, we have to put a play on for me.
So yeah, I guess I would want to see more of the deep, dark underground what's left to uncover of Asgard. You know what I mean? It's got a long history, a long history, millennia, right? So it'd be cool to see what's underneath it.
Yeah,
it'd be cool to see.
That's good.
What was there before.
That's a really good pick. I think. Is there anything you're bringing back with you? By the way, is there anything that if you could bring it back, you would bring it back?
I'll take the Infinity Gauntlet.
You take the knockoff Infinity. Just walking out with this big.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really what a perfect thing to grab. Dang it. Good work. I'm taking a tour. I'm going to that throne room right away. I'm gonna see if Odin's around. I'm gonna ask around. In this, I'm guessing if this is just Asgard in its prime. See if they'll let me sit in the chair for a sec.
Oh, that's nice.
You know, and I might take like maybe one of their like their guards' armors. They look pretty good. Like I want.
Oh, that'd be cool to have. Yeah.
Like I want Odin's spear, but like I want the knockoff of it because I don't really want like a laser spear. Like I just like, oh, this is pretty cool. And just kind of walk back home with it.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'd do. Seems like a really cool thing to do. Let's see. We already talked about the Fantastic Four. So this one I'm kind of interested in, even though you and I are in the same boat with this. We do not like horror stuff too much, but it's if Kyle would make a horror movie, what kind of horror movie to make?
So I really like Get Out, though. Get Out's my favorite movie of this year, which is a horror movie, but is like has a lot of satire and commentary tied in with it. And so it'd be something like that. It would be something that uses the horror genre to say something grander.
Okay,
I think.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. That's cool. I appreciate that a lot because I think a lot of these horror films, there's not really anything to say. It's just like people were dumb. There was a bad thing. It killed the dumb people. And it's like, don't be dumb. I'm like, all right, cool. Thank you. That's a good lesson. But you're totally right. I think saying more than that is probably a smart thing to do. So cool. Nice. Well, believe it or not, that's all we got for this week. We've got so many things we could talk about, but we'd be here for hours and hours and hours. But if you ever want to ask us a question, have a topic or something like that, just tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast. To me, I am at GoCritical, capital G, capital C, or you can find me at my personal Twitter account, which is at JimmyGood013. Kyle, you're on Twitter sometimes, right?
Yeah, sometimes, occasionally.
Yeah, you're at
At Kyle Bosman is where you'll find me. KYLEBOSMAN. Yeah, I got a tweet actually. I owe everybody one tweet.
Do you do a tweet a day, or do you just one tweet in general?
It's like one tweet every 2 weeks, and I'm like way behind. So I gotta do one.
Is your version of Twitter just because it's like, it's just there kind of thing? Like, it's not really the most fun place to be all the time, or?
Yeah, like the tweets that I used to write when I first started Twitter were like nonsensical lines of dialogue and like doodles, and like I just feel like I can't do that right now because I have too much. Like every time I'm on Twitter, I should be responding to tweets. I kind of just want to like shoot my stuff out there and like not have to like answer the questions and everything. It's because it's terrible as an obligation because everybody's so nice. Everything that I click like the hearts on are actually like really cool pictures of Gundams or like fan art things and things like that. Like it's all good. It's just it's a lot to go through. It's a lot to ingest always. And so yeah, Twitter just stresses me out.
Yeah, well, I would say to you that Twitter is a tool, and if you want to use it to put out your crazy little doodles or just say a little thing, I'd rather have you do that than have you go around and liking and answering a tweet of mine. Like, I'd rather have you do that. I think everybody else would too, because it's an outlet of creativity for you. Just use it that way, as opposed to being like, well, I have to message 300 people like KTY.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I know it's hard. You got to do those crunches. Like, I do it all the time because I have to be self-promotional, be like, hey, look at this, and then I have to reshare it and all this stuff. I'm like, so it can be kind of a drag, but man, please, if you take anything away from this, just please put out a doodle. Your doodles are great. We love your doodles.
Well, the other sucky part is my phone's lens can't focus on things up close anymore. So even if I did do a doodle, I couldn't tweet it. It's too sad.
We need to get you like a stretch goal of like one of those like syntax, like those little like tablets that you could draw out and then you could put it on your PC. Oh my gosh.
I want one of those really bad for you just watching TV and you can just draw on the,
Yeah, that'd be great. Oh my gosh. Let's make that happen.
No. There's plenty of other things that I should prioritize.
I know, but that's a creative outlet and that would be good for your soul, baby. You got to feed that thing. Anyway, let's see. Where we're talking. Oh yeah, we were talking about this beforehand. But Zelda here. I'm streaming on Twitch. If you ever want to check us out over on Twitch.tv/critical-reviews, we're at the end of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time, or Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, and hopefully jump to Breath of the Wild after that. We'll see how it goes. It's gonna be a 20-year jump. It's gonna be pretty insane. I want to thank a few people. I want to thank This Is Dale for our intro outro music, and thank you to the one and only Yorin Evers, who does pretty much all the artwork you'll see here on this channel. If you ever want any commissions done by him, all you have to do is check out Mirage28 over on Twitter or at Jade Circle Art. But if you want some of his art and you still want to support us at the same time, you can check us out at patreon.com/critical-reviews. At various tiers, you get different avatars and see how cool they are, plus some other rewards as well. But if you want to support Kyle, because guess what? I'm a patron of the Easy Allies who, well, I would call them conspiracy theorists on searching for the heffalumps. But Kyle, how would you describe Easy Allies?
Oh, exactly as you did. I would add on that it's 9 people who cover video games in lots of different ways through podcasts and reviews and live streams. Very similar to Critical Reviews, just attacking everything from all points and putting up videos almost daily. It's just crazy, just the breadth of what Easy Allies puts up. And yeah, their Patreon is patreon.com/Easy Allies. Our Patreon.
Yeah, I was just saying. I was like, yours. You guys were, for anybody who might be new to this, they are the inspiration for why we exist here today. So if you like any of our stuff, there's a really good chance that you would absolutely love their stuff. I mean, looking at their reviews, that's one of the formats I based around how I make my own. So if you see those and you see some similarities, that's why, because I think there's still a lot of value in these kind of really well done, highly produced reviews, as opposed to just me shouting out a few things. Like I'll do a review in progress, which I've had to do because we don't get games like 2 weeks early, but I'll be like, hey, here's like 9 minutes of unedited gameplay, and I'll just tell you about it. But I also love to do just like just kind of making a piece of art as opposed to just throwing out some ideas. But yeah, Easy Allies, they're great. All wonderful guys, and I've met them in real life, and they're even, you guys are even better in real life, I'd say, because we saw each other in PAX, which was a lot of fun.
That was cool.
Oh man, PAX, good times. But thank you guys so much. Thank you dear viewer, for stopping by. To our Legionnaires who stopped by for the 86th time, or anybody who's joining us for the first time, thank you. We really appreciate it. And all we have to say is just remember to adapt and overcome. I'll see you next time.